we should be recording.
Oh, shit. There it goes.
There it goes.
Hello and welcome, sons of bitches, to another fun-filled fucking episode of Death by Cheeseburger. I am one half of the host, Matt Jablonski, and with me as always,
Ben Terhune. Pleasure to see you all again. Well, you can see me. I can't see you. Just make believe.
yeah, we'll pretend this is it's kind of like a two-way glass.
It totally is.
Yeah, like, I feel like now I'm getting sweated by the police. Sweated.
It's kind of like an interrogation process when we do this. I can see it. I ask you a lot of questions. You ask me a lot of questions.
Yeah.
It gets uncomfortable.
Sometimes.
So there you go.
But I guess that's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Exactly.
If it's not uncomfortable, it's not real.
Totally.
And if it's not real, it's not worth doing.
We've actually amassed some followers now because of the realism. That's one of the things I get the most compliments
followers. On. I love...
We have followers. We're like Jim Jones.
Rosy perspective on this.
We're like Waco, motherfucker. We're impressive.
You know me, I'm not the positive aspect of this team.
Obviously.
So it's funny that you always see it as we've got followers. I'm like, 50 people listen to us regularly.
Actually, 50 more than most people.
Yeah, we're getting a little better than that even. But it's kind of cool. It is cool. It's not kind of cool because the way you break it down is by mathematics.
Oh, totally.
So you look at it by the hours spent listening to us.
I've even done the demographics. We get adult men and women between the ages of 24 and 39 who listen to us the most.
That doesn't shock me.
Yeah, so there's that.
That's, right in our range of life. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I guess, we just had our first, single video, single source break 100 views.
Yeah.
And that was on YouTube for our first episode, which I think is really cool because when you think about it, we average about 2 hours. So that's 200 hours spent listening to us.
Hell yeah.
That one time.
People have cancers who give them less grief.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there you go.
That's true. I didn't expect cancer to rear its ugly head so soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, thanks everybody for listening, as always. To go through the business aspect of the show, I did not play the music this time when we started. I'm going to go back and take care of that shit on the audio version later. We got a little bit of hassle last time. And also, I didn't feel like setting up the full thing. Go figure. So we're
live on the couch
today.
We're on the couch.
And I actually kind of dig it, even though it's not the most flattering angle for a fat guy.
I think it makes my pecs look awesome.
I wouldn't mind. I'm kind of lazy, so getting a mic stand that was right up here in my grill would be sweet.
I'm feeling it in my wrist right now. After an hour and a half of this, I'm gonna have some gimpy wrists. That's where I'm gonna be at.
Wrists.
I'm gonna have to masturbate tomorrow because it won't be tonight.
I'm gonna start calling you G-Dub.
I'm with it. I am down with that.
So what the fuck have you been up to this week, Ben?
Dude, I've worked. That's what I've done. I have not prepared for this podcast. I will totally admit that. I have not put myself out there and tried to go ahead and make some new material. I didn't even do stand-up comedy this week because everybody in the bar was drunk, and I just didn't want to be the one funny guy in a room full of drunk people because it's really easy to do. I don't feel like I'd be applying myself.
I would have totally got on stage just for the extra time of getting on stage.
Yeah.
Another time to get less anxiety. I'm actually I think I'm gonna put in for a shift change maybe.
Yeah.
Because I'm running low on PTO, and I need to conserve that.
Okay.
So hopefully, not hopefully, I don't really want to go to this other shift, but you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do it.
And I want to do open mics. I haven't been writing much this week, but or at all. I have some ideas, but they're not written.
I did. I've been doing a bit about ironic things I think about, like how did the "Don't Walk in the Grass" sign get in the middle of the fucking grass, and why do they call a hot water heater like a hot water heater? You don't heat the water when it's hot; you heat it when it's cold.
Word.
Yeah. Why does Subway still give out say they have footlongs after Jared? That's probably a bad idea. That type of thing. So I'm working into the really nasty ones.
Yeah, well, that's what I like. I like the dark shit. Hi, Mom. I see you there. Can you hear us? Respond to that, please. Anyway, so yeah,
he's like, "Hi, Mom. Just want to go ahead and say hi."
Shit, I lost it already.
Well, the ironic bits is what I was talking about.
Oh yeah, getting into the darker aspects of life, and
why I buy a case of Kleenex and all of a sudden I blow my nose with toilet paper and the box sits there still in the plastic and I'm just kind of that was a stupid $7 purchase.
That's just silly.
That's everybody. Or why I have an object in my car and it's been needed to go in my house for a year and I've been home 365 times and yet not done it.
Dude, oh man, when I cleaned out my last car, I had so much shit that was I'm not going to describe what it is because it's going to get into territory we're going to try to avoid today, but Anyway, like
I found a clit pump the other day. I will go ahead and say a clit pump.
Nice.
And it sat in my truck for like 3 days, and I didn't have anybody in my truck, thankfully. But then again, I wouldn't have given a fuck if I did. They would just be like, "What's that?" And I'd be like, "It's a clit pump," and I'd show them how it works, and we just have the awkward and get it over with.
Well, this is totally unrelated to that, but I wish that I had some kind of alarm or something I could ring that was like celebratory, because apparently this week they can hear us.
They can hear us
on Facebook Live.
Oh my god,
that's insanity! I don't
the
even know
sixth
what to think
episode,
about
and we
that.
have sound and video, and it's actually commingling and working well.
Yeah, what the fuck is happening
Have
here?
mercy.
It's like everything's coming together, right?
I'm
at the
really
last
shocked.
second.
I'm really
This
shocked.
is the most half-assed we've done it so far.
Like we sit on
and
the couch,
it's working.
and it's working.
I'm actually totally comfy. Like, I'm good with it. Like we could light it better, but you know,
There's a podcast on YouTube, and they've only had 16 episodes. I discovered them the other day when I was just browsing haphazardly, and it's called Deep Fat Fried.
Yeah.
And like they're big on true crime and cultists and like trends in society is where they get most of their viewership. And it's 3 dudes getting stoned, sitting on a couch, talking shit to each other. Locker room humor, and they're basically reading statistics. And these motherfuckers have amassed a giant following, and I'll be damned if I didn't subscribe to the podcast just off that alone.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that actually sounds like a good podcast. Can you run that name by me one more again?
Deep Fat Fried.
Deep Fat Fried.
Yep.
Deep Fat Fried, like the food I am no longer eating.
The food you are no longer eating.
Yeah. So I guess we can get into some life shit.
Some
or
life
whatever.
the real shit.
This is probably the most important thing I got to focus on in my life right now, and I've been having a difficult time getting to it. But I found out everyone who knows me knows that I have a hernia, and I basically have to skirt around doing any kind of heavy lifting. Or,
Baby intestine.
yeah, and it sucks. But whatever, that's what life dealt me. However, I'm also large, if you can't tell, and I'm a plus-sized but beautiful woman.
You're an
And,
excellent BBW.
They don't want to operate on me because of how big I am, and so
Would you
unless
be
it-
like an
unless it's
anesthesia
reversed.
risk or something like that?
Yeah, that, and I think that's mainly it.
Okay.
They don't want to. They don't want to risk their records if it's not an emergency.
Right.
And I can't blame them. They spent a lot of money on college degrees, so I decided that it's time to get. I had actually decided this before, and I've been really trying to get it in my head that when I moved into this new place, I was going to cook for myself. I was going to eat clean.
Okay.
And fucking. So I started doing that, or I started easing into that after I got done moving. Then I got sick. I didn't eat anything for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then I kind of slowly been, eating. Well, not slowly. I've been eating like huge vegetable dishes for dinner. And
Okay.
stuff. Like anyway, point being,
So low carb is like the premise of your diet, you would say?
almost no.
No
Yeah,
carbs. Fuck carbs.
Almost no.
I'm a carb junkie.
Yeah, they're fucking delicious, aren't they? Man?
They
Like
are, though.
lasagna. Who doesn't want some fucking lasagna?
I can't stop
Actually,
myself.
I hate lasagna, but that was just a good example of carbs.
When I train, it's like pasta and protein. That's my thing. Pasta and protein.
Because I think lasagna tastes like puke.
Yeah.
And that's probably because at one point in time, lasagna made me puke.
Yeah.
And so
You did get food poisoning this week. That did happen.
Yeah, that was...
Was it the 12-inch from Subway?
Oh, I think it was.
Jared got to you?
Yeah, that son of a bitch.
Yeah, okay.
He planted his seed in me, and it stuck with me for 3 fucking days.
Yeah.
I ended up finally going back to work on Tuesday and shit. Yeah, so I've been eating clean since the last time I got weighed. So I'm just gonna put the numbers out there, because if I don't start fucking being real with it, then I'm not gonna get where I need to be. So
You hear that,
I
3
got-
people? He wants accountability.
yeah, well, 3 people and maybe up to possibly 100 on YouTube.
Yeah, boy.
I didn't even post the last 2 episodes on our fucking other feed.
Yeah.
Like I put them on SoundCloud. Like you can totally get us at SoundCloud too. We get a handful there. We're gonna need more SoundCloud listeners to continue to justify $15 a month for the account.
I
though.
wouldn't even do it.
Yeah,
At this
probably
point,
not.
YouTube's like our main avenue.
Anyway, so
your numbers,
my
your chunky
numbers,
monkey.
the highest recorded weight that I have ever been, and it's been recorded multiple times. And this last time I went to the doctor was 412 pounds.
412.
And there's a process you go through as a fat person becoming fatter, and you're starting to realize that it's a problem,
Okay.
where you start to say, all right, 350. I can't get above 350.
So like your girth epiphany.
Yeah, and then you get to 351.
And then,
And then you're like, I can't get above 355.
Do you like negotiate with yourself along the way? You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, 355 is not going to be so bad.
I'm not going to let it get me past this point.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
I can't do that, and you realize it's a problem, but you haven't figured out the willpower to deal with it yet. And so I've been arguing with that for some time now, and my last excuse is gone.
Okay.
Where I lived, you saw where I lived.
Yeah.
It was a completely inconvenient situation to have to go and cook my own dinner.
You were like a South Park caricature in a basement. Like, you were the large man in a basement. Like, the only thing missing was your World of Warcraft account and a lot of porno.
Yeah, because I'm not a creep. And I lived with my sister. I had most of an apartment, basically.
Now, for our viewers, I will say Matt's sister is cool as fuck, and so is her husband. So, like, they're legitimately cool people to live with.
I paid bills and shit. So let's not.
He wasn't a mooch. He wasn't a fat mooch.
So anyway, I was part of the household there, but they are a couple with 3 kids, and so they have dishes at all times.
I'd imagine.
On the sink and on the stove, and this isn't anything again. Not at all.
I'd be doing a
They
paper
do
plate
clean.
lifestyle.
It's
Fuck
not
that.
like I'm making them sound worse than they are, but like
They live
there's
in
shit
filth.
in the way.
Yeah, there's clutter.
And
It's
so
not conducive to cooking healthy meals
when
you
I
need an
have
hour.
to cook separately from everyone else, that's not easy to do, and I'm not going to go do everyone else's dishes so I can make my dinner. So my last excuse is gone. I'm now at this place, and for better or worse, this is where I am right now, and I got to try to make the best of it.
Yeah.
And so I have been diligently eating clean. I'm doing like every couple day grocery store shit.
Yeah.
So the number is 412. Today I got on the scale and I'm down to shit.
You lost 17 pounds.
395.
There you go. Okay.
I got under the 4, and 4 was the last time I made that deal with the devil where I was like, no, I can't go that far.
Yeah.
And I'm sufficiently motivated to, like, out of all the things that have happened, the one thing I've managed to do is not start drinking, which is for me and my mindset a bad thing.
That's a tragedy.
And I've been taking better care of myself.
I drank yesterday.
Health wise.
Yeah.
I drink when I'm happy. Anyway,
I drink when I'm happy, not when I'm depressed.
The main thing now that I'm trying to focus on is bettering my health.
Yeah.
And I would like to extend an invite to any people in our listenership that are also overweight to jump on board. And
You're just going to form a spontaneous chubby support group.
It maybe
That's what just happened.
Maybe not.
I wasn't even aware this was going on, but I'll be happy to participate. I'm fat.
We'll see if anybody else.
I'm 230 pounds of bullshit. We can do this. We can do
see
this.
if anybody else wants to get involved, and I think if I get enough people involved, maybe we'll do some kind of healthy competition.
Okay.
For like a period of time and a percentage of BMI or something.
All right.
Because it's, you have to scale it for everybody so it's fair.
Yeah, not in the format of The Biggest Loser, where all of a sudden you decide you want to lose weight, and then you get like hairline fractures and stress fractures all over your body. You're mad, dehydrated, and think you're dying. That's how The Biggest Loser works. If you ever heard the behind the scenes talk.
Yeah. So I actually in the last hour or so have had about the most positive energy I've had.
Okay.
In a little while, and since I saw that number, and I was like 17, man, I haven't really been working on it that long.
Yeah.
And I'm not dying, you know what I mean? Like, it sucks that I can't.
We're all dying, technically speaking.
I'm not dying from not having what I want.
Yeah.
So, as much as I would love to hit Taco Bell on the way home, I have a goal.
Okay.
270 pounds. I have not been below 300 pounds that I know of since junior year.
I weighed 185 pounds in high school. Like, that was my entire high school weight that I kept on.
I was not a lazy kid.
Yeah.
Like, or a high school kid. I was a lazy kid when I was little. That's when I got big. But there was also circumstances. Dad didn't want me to go out and play for some reason. And anyway, like, I ended up being like a Nintendo kid a lot. So yeah. Anyway, fuck.
You were not a lazy kid. This is how you got fat,
in
though.
high school. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I was 3-sport athlete for 2 years. I worked on a dairy farm for most of high school, and that was bust ass work. Like, and then I was always out getting into shit in northern Wisconsin. So like, we'll be out in the fucking woods, like getting high and shit, like whatever. And there wasn't a lot of sitting around. I just never was able to break that 300 for some reason.
Yeah.
Probably because I was eating like shit.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm focused on it now, and yeah, I see that the video distorted. That's on
Facebook. That's mostly Facebook when the video distorts. That's the damn live connection.
But anyway, I'm goddamn determined.
Yeah.
On this
one. Okay.
Like, I'm fucking. I have to start channeling the negative energies that I have within me.
Yes.
Into some kind of positive outlet.
Hallelujah. It's a miracle.
And people don't give me enough credit. Like, you see glimpses of time.
Okay.
You know, you see three or four thoughts I've had through the day.
Yeah.
Not good thoughts, but they're the ones I got to get the fuck out of my head, because if I sit and ruminate on that shit, then it gets worse.
Okay.
Like, so, unfollow me, delete me. I don't care. Like, I'm
man up, bulletproof vest style.
Like, it is what it is. But point being, I have been trying to focus that into a positive direction for the most part. And so when you come by to get me for jujitsu and I'm not ready to go yet,
it's gay.
It's not like it's gay, but it's gay. I haven't called something gay in so long, and you just pulled me right into that. I just went straight back to 7th grade without even blinking.
Not offending our homosexual audience, as I am a bisexual male. I'm using gay in a negative connotation that's not associated with sexuality at all. It's just negative for this point.
But it's like, not like I'm not doing a bunch of other positive shit already.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, just give me time. And I will figure shit out. Like, yeah. So that, I mean,
let's talk about your proactive weight loss steps. Okay, so
proactive weight loss.
You've cut out carbs. So when you say you're making a food, a typical meal is like, when you're making food, a typical meal is what?
Typical meal is usually mixed vegetables and a meat.
A meat, okay. So no carbs.
No carbs.
What are we doing for like liquid intake? Are we water only?
Water only.
All right.
Water and Gatorade Propel.
Okay, Propel. What's the difference between that and actual Gatorade?
It is not sugar, but sweetened water.
Sweetened water, okay.
Yeah, so like it's some kind of like artificial sweetener shit.
All right,
but
it's artificial sweetener shit.
It does little damage.
Okay.
I'm sure it does some kind of cancer, but I'm going to get 11 kinds of cancer. I already know that.
Okay, so
by the time I'm 70.
I'm more than likely going to as well. Thank you for that cold-hearted, bleak thought right there. Goodbye.
We all are. Everyone fucking dies of cancer. Yeah. That's what we all die from.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
that's totally true.
They say like almost 100% of men over 80 have like colon cancer, and they just don't bother.
Colon or prostate.
That's prostate cancer. That's the one.
Yeah.
And they just don't bother them with it because they're so close to death. They don't want to worry.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
They're just like, oh yeah, no, it's totally recorded that they have it, but we don't tell them.
Oh yeah, I've had prostate problems since I was a little kid. I really have. Due from stress and everything else. Like, try being 16 and pissing in 3 different directions. Like, it's a thing.
Oh,
it can happen. All right, now we also want to. Yeah, I'm losing all my shit too.
Like a fan blade.
Dude, it happens though. Like, there was a movie, Chuck and Larry, when Dan Aykroyd was the fucking fire chief of the station.
Right.
And he'd be like, so I'm having a good day. And he's like, why? And he's like, well, I didn't piss like a ceiling fan all over the urinal. And I'm just kind of like, I fucking get that though. Like,
I'm a kid.
Yeah, dude, I was like, when that movie first came out, I was like in my teen years. And I'm like, I fucking get that though. 17-year-old me understands that shit.
So unfortunate.
I was like,
I wonder if this is, maybe I should stop streaming on the laptop.
Yeah.
See if that improves our Wi-Fi.
I don't know. Degradation of Wi-Fi.
I can't see you up close now, so if Ben can read what you're saying, I don't know. But anyway,
I'm reading some of it on and off. We still have like good sound and everything, so I mean, essentially, it's still going to be like by the radio. It's just a video that's choppy, which is totally fine from our end. So it's got to be Facebook style.
Right. So the proactive weight loss.
Yep.
Right now, and I did at some point this week manage to eke this out in a Facebook post, but The best that I can come up with, because I do have a bit of a physical limitation, a bit of one, is that I'm going to have to get heavy into cardio.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to ease into it too and not give myself a heart attack.
Yeah.
And I have a few different ways to do that. And what I want to start doing is DDP yoga.
Okay.
Now, full disclosure, with all the eating right I've done, I still haven't started working out yet.
Yeah.
It's been in my head.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I know it's coming. I just haven't fucking
worked up to it.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'll get it. But I want to do DDP yoga for a couple weeks. I remember the last time I did it, I dropped 80 pounds in less than 3 months.
Now, for those of you who don't know, DDP yoga is yoga modeled after Diamond Dallas Page, who does almost the same shit that most yoga instructors actually do, but he does a more higher impact version of it, which speeds up your metabolism and the fat burning process.
It works. Like, it legit, like, I can say to myself from my own experience that it works. I've done it. It works.
If you go on Facebook, there's a DDP yoga forum where you can actually sign up, get the full DVD set, and he's got like 2 or 3 different versions of it out right now. And he's even got a heart monitor he'll sell you, which is overpriced. Don't fucking do it. And then he's even got a whole like a lineup of dietary needs and food restrictions and stuff like that you can place upon yourself to further lose weight. And and some of that shit's just common sense. But the routine itself of doing DDP yoga with stand up, energy, and let's see, some of the positions like Black Crow, Double Diamond, stuff like that. Those actually work.
I haven't gotten out of the diamond dozen yet.
Yeah.
So like all I know is the first set of 12 poses.
The first one he did when he did his DDP yoga set, he did in a professional like exercise studio with a backdrop, and it was all like filmed like it would actually be like a television movie and stuff like that. The second one he was like kind of had a brick wall for a backdrop. He had 2 people who were pretty muscled out and they looked pretty lean and stuff, and they were doing like some of the really hardy like high intense shit. Yeah,
Arthur. Everyone's seen the video, but they don't actually advertise DDP yoga in the video.
Yeah,
which they show him doing it. But it's not an advertisement.
What
it's
was
a
it?
Story about this dude.
The rotund dude who was
Arthur,
a paratrooper.
I can't remember his last name, but yeah, he was a paratrooper. He had a ton of jumps and stuff, and his body was all fucked up. And he let himself get. He's a short guy.
Yeah, he was Forrest Gump in it, leg braces
also,
and all.
Like he was well over, I would say, 350 pounds
easily.
Yeah, he had braces and like. You know, I never had those kind of mobility.
Yeah.
Thank God, dude.
I don't know. I go
was
insane.
Starting to get there.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. I started to feel it.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, I was starting to get these alarms where I'm like, holy shit, dude, no matter what's going on, you got to do this thing.
Yeah.
And anyway, so yeah, his story is amazing. And through eating right and DDP yoga, the dude is now lean as fuck.
Yeah.
And I can tell he's also had the surgeries done to like get rid of the excess skin.
Oh, totally, yeah.
But like, you know, and so I'm going to really get in. That's going to be the main focus of my workout.
Yeah.
Is working up through the DDP at like yoga workout routines.
And we've also, for our listeners, have got a personal trainer on board. Now, my boy Justin King, you can look him up on YouTube if you want to see some of his fight reels. He's an actual professional mixed martial arts fighter. He is verified, legit. You can look him up on YouTube. You can see his state record online. YouTube. And he's actually a personal trainer in his spare time and everything. And he's a short little dude, about 5'5", about 145 pounds. But every bit of him's all fucking animal. Like he looks like a fucking little black werewolf. It's not somebody you want to tangle with in a dark alley or like the light of day. Don't do it. And so we've got him on board trying to help Matt out with a meal plan and stuff. He's making some recommendations and about ellipticals and stuff like that because he realizes Matt has a hernia.
I actually have an elliptical.
Yeah.
I own one. I just got to get that back room cleaned out. That's going to be my workout room now.
Okay.
Let's just avoid that comment. Anyway, I'm trying. So I'm going to put a TV in back there so I can hook up, put on the yoga, and then I'm gonna start working up on the elliptical after I do yoga for a week. Hopefully I can bang out 10 minutes by then.
Yeah.
And then you know, usually from 10 it don't take you long to get to 20.
Yeah.
A couple times and you'll get there. And then I'm just gonna go hard in the paint, man.
Yeah.
Like this is for anyone who doubts me, I want a better life, motherfucker. That's why I'm pissed right now.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
The man has something to prove, is what he's saying.
Yeah, God, you're goddamn right I do. And I'm going to not go too much further than that.
Yeah.
Because I could go on for days. I have gone on for days. I will probably still go on for days in other forums. Anyway.
At least he's honest.
Yeah, well, fuck it. I ain't apologizing.
Now, we're also, let's see, I'm trying to get you on board with MMA, too.
MMA.
I think it's something you could benefit from. I've been...
well, all right, here's the deal on that. And yet, I want to learn proper striking. And
Right,
stuff.
right.
But my interest is actually in grappling.
It's a badass sport. It's really hard.
I wrestled in high school, and as we previously noted, there was no... I didn't get below 300 pounds, and I did all the weight cutting shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, we didn't have a super heavyweight division, so I didn't get to wrestle much.
Yeah.
And I got to wrestle in practice, and I'd wrestle all the varsity dudes because I had an edge on them.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was a lot of fun. And it's that, but then you're adding in, you're looking for joints and submissions.
Yeah, yeah.
And then eventually you can add striking to that as well. And
as someone who's been practicing jiu-jitsu for over a year and a half, like religiously, the most time I've taken off is about 4 weeks or so, and that was just because the weather didn't permit me to find a decent gym, or there was too much of a blizzard out or something like that. Like I've maybe taken 4 weeks off out of the last year and a half and not done jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts in some form. And I can tell you that in the first 6 months, all you do is get smoked.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing. Like
I don't ever have any delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, not unless you're a fucking prodigy. Like you walk into a gym and you think, my coach himself, his name is Michael Shields. Everybody in town, local to us and everything, claims to have trained with this guy, or they fought this guy, or they went ahead and they know this guy and they've done some variation of martial arts with him. And 90% of what they say in town is all rumors and bullshit. Michael is a legitimate fighter. You can check his pro record out online. You can check his videos out on YouTube.
Right.
And Michael is 135 pounds. So so when you see Michael,
oh dude, those 135 pounders, when they're in shape and they know what they're doing.
Oh my God!
Those are some fast little motherfuckers.
When you see Mike, he's got a man bun. He's got that fucking chiseled jawline like he should be on the cover of GQ magazine. Yeah. And he's got these little gauge ear piercings in his ear and stuff like that. If you saw Mike in a gay bar, you'd be like, "That's my fucking date for tonight." That's just how it'd be. And then the first time I trained with Mike was maybe a 20-minute training session. He's like, "We'll just give it a self-eval." He's like, "I know you're big. I know you lift weights. It's no big thing." And this was a year and a half ago. And so I go into this little gym he's got set up in a little warehouse garage type thing. It's legit. There's pro wrestling mats on the floor. There's the fucking half an octagon based around it that he made out of a loading dock, punching bags, pads, the whole nine, gloves and all that. Really legit. And so I square off with him for 20 minutes and we grapple and stuff like that. And basically we're just standing up. And all we're doing is tying our arms together and trying to get underhooks, which is the basics of any fucking throw. And
he wore your ass out.
I was fucking dying. It's the middle of summer. There's no air conditioning in his gym because he just he thinks it's a good way to make him drop weight.
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, health-wise, it's not bad to sweat. You can control your body temperature if you take breaks and drink water.
Well, yeah, if you're an athlete, take in water, take cool-down breaks. Don't cool down too much, but, you learn, I'm not an athlete, or I'm I guess, former half-assed athlete.
Yeah.
And I know that, so, I mean...
Oh, no, but, it was so bad, though. I squared off with him. For 20 minutes, we did this dance, and I was like, I'm going to push you around, little guy. And what he did was he just rotated me around in a circle with, the force of his hands, pretty much, and not so much his arms, and just made me his bitch.
Yeah.
And, after that, I slowly learned, it wasn't about the size of the fighter. It wasn't about the size of the guy or anything like that. It was about the knowledge they had and the amount of experience they had.
And their ability to use that knowledge, because a small fighter, does this guy train to fight professionally?
Oh yeah, he's had over 12 professional fights and over 10 amateur
fights. Are we talking
fights.
about Justin or
no? We're talking about Michael Shields, my actual coach.
I was just making sure I was on the right guy, but so he knows, not only does he know how to fight people in his own weight class, but in his training, he's also probably recognized that he's going to have different sizes of people, a different kind of handicap to deal with, and learned how to do that. And I'm not going to Google it, but I've got a buddy who swears to me that jiu-jitsu means the strengthless technique.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, that's the whole thing. He knows how to manipulate you and make you wear yourself out.
Even with my training for a year and a half, I can still go against Mike. And where I used to last 5 to 7 seconds before he tapped me out. Those were our initial rolls. And I mean, I'd roll with him for 3 to 5 minutes, and I'd be nauseous when I was done. Feel like I got hit by a Mack truck, and he would lock my joints up in ways that they'd never bent before.
Right.
And the thing was, I couldn't overcome the instinct of my own joints, because when your joints bend back and your arms go to places you don't want them to go, your ankles lock in position and shit like that, you freak the fuck out. Your adrenaline is like at an all-time high when that shit happens. And he did that shit to me and everything else, and I used to be able to last 5 to 7 seconds, and now I can last maybe like a minute and a half with him. And to me, that's like,
That's
a
growth.
testament of strength. Like, that's fucking growth right there.
Yeah, no, and that it's not an overnight thing.
No, it's really not.
But I'm not looking for an overnight thing, and I'm looking to gradually build up the intensity of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get to a point where, like, DDP yoga is going to be the thing I get up and do in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I might, since apparently you guys do jujitsu at what is like midnight for me.
What is, because we keep, the regular people hours, whereas
right,
you get like a farmer
I don't get
waking
to
up,
choose.
feeding your cows and planting your crops at 4 a.m.
Okay. When they come to me,
They come to
and
you.
they're like, yo, there's this shift where you can be done with this place at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Do you want to take that? I'm like, gee, let me think about that. Yeah.
Let me just get
Of
this
course
over with.
I want to do that.
Let me get this over with.
So I get up at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Which means if I want to get a good amount of sleep,
Yeah.
I need to try to be going. If I want to fall asleep at 7,
Yeah.
which is 8 hours, then I would have to be in bed by 6
Yeah.
and be incredibly fortunate.
Yeah.
And so when I go to bed at 7, I'm not getting to sleep till 9,
Yeah.
10, here lately fucking 1. Like, like
Yeah.
I just, I'm not a good sleeper.
I'm a chronic insomniac. I've tailored my schedule around I tell everybody, don't hit me up before noon. I'm just not the person you want to fuck with. If you're going to hit me up in the AM hours, it's a bad idea. I just let them know.
Yeah, but I don't have my life built in a way where I can afford to do that.
Well, now
So
you
the
have
best-
goals.
Yeah. I got to get an income. I need more of you motherfuckers to share this podcast is what I keep calling you guys names.
Put it
and I'm
on the
like,
weights
do
of
us
our
a
listeners,
favor.
degrade them, and then ask for favors. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's you can't tell which comedians I listen to.
Right, exactly.
Someday hopefully I can get financially independent, and at least be generating my income through what I choose to do.
There you go.
But I also recognize that the endeavors I'm looking at taking on aren't overnight pursuits.
Totally.
So I don't like calling it a health issue.
Yeah.
Because that makes it sound like I'm dying of pneumonia.
It's a terminal illness.
No, it's like I have a temporary physical setback that I've always been determined to take care of. However, I got a little lackadaisical lately, and I got a wake-up call. So we're moving in the right direction, and the plan right now is to eventually, get involved in jiu-jitsu and just really do all I can to try to get this weight off of me. I don't plan to stop at 270.
Yeah.
But that's the first big goal.
Yeah, okay.
That's the stretch goal.
270.
I don't know, I guess the milestones are all in between, every 10 pounds or 5 pounds even is kind of a milestone.
Like
So-
when it comes, do you just want to learn jiu-jitsu, or do you want to learn like all basic forms of martial arts? Because I'm trained in Muay Thai, boxing, and jiu-jitsu, and I don't really toot my own horn about this because it's just kind of like saying I can fight. Like that's just kind of like coming in second in the Special Olympics. It's a retarded conversation to have with people.
Well, I think, and once you develop the ability to fight, do you really need to talk about the
I
fact
hardly
that you
ever
can
do
fight?
anymore. Like that's the thing. I'm just kind of like when people start like violent altercations with me, or something that wants to proceed to a violent altercation or violent confrontation. I'm just kind of like, look, I know like 2 different gyms. I can take you there. We can time the rounds out if you feel you're out of shape. And I was like, we can put hands on each other. I said, we'll put it in a structured environment so you don't have to worry about any health complications on your end. And I'm like, and we'll see how it ends. It's not a big deal. If I get my ass whooped, it happens. I get my ass whooped every fucking Tuesday. Like it's not a thing to
I've
me
had
anymore.
my ass kicked before. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're not getting like beaten with bricks.
No, there's a 135-pound man in Ellettsville, Indiana who can turn my lights out with 2 punches. He did it last night.
There's a ton of little dudes. Well, almost any little dude right now could probably kick my ass unless I get a hold of him. I don't have the wind for it.
I will bear hug you into submission.
Well, that's is like I just like the 135-pound guy knows
Yeah.
what he needs to do to work against someone bigger.
Yeah.
I've always been bigger, so I always looked at speed as my enemy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to chase anybody.
It's not a good idea.
I'm not throwing the first punch because I leave myself wide open.
I chased a guy around in a circle last night trying to hit him for 12 minutes, and my arms are still sore. I didn't sleep last night till like 2 a.m. because my whole body was aching, even the bottoms of my feet, just from running around.
Now, I know that if I'm ever squaring off with a true martial artist in public, I know because of who I am that I'm not actually going to be squaring off with a true martial artist.
Right?
Because I show people respect as a rule.
Yeah.
And then if they disrespect me, then I might say something.
Yeah.
Then I will say something. But like I'm not like a martial artist is not going to just disrespect you.
Yeah.
They're disciplined people, and they've learned to fight, but they've also learned to channel that in a positive way.
Yeah, even my coach.
As opposed to being out fighting in the street
Right.
all the time.
Even my coach, who's got like 4 kids, and he's practically married and stuff like that. And he has a carpentry business he does on his own on the side, and he builds good cabinets, by the way, for our listeners, if you ever want one. And so even him, he's like low key as fuck about what he does. Like he'll talk some shit to guys he's going to compete with and everything, but for the most part, you just kind of see him and you're like, hey, what's up? And like fighting doesn't come into play, and you don't think you're going to beat that guy. However, you go out to the bar with him or something like that, and people are like, I'm going to give that little guy shit, and I'm just kind of like, I want to see this happen. Like, I just want to see how this situation evolves from you thinking you're going to give him shit to him making you basically eat your own foot. Like, it's going to be adorable.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be hilarious.
I think I'm trying to get him to be a guest on the podcast one time.
That'd be cool.
But he's not like socially versed in like talking into a microphone and stuff. He's like, no, that's your gig. He's like, you're the comedian and stuff. You do that. He's like, I'll be in the gym. You can come listen to me here. And I'm like, man, if I got to follow you around with a camera just to get a decent half podcast off of you, I'll do it. But it's going to be like a little stalkerish. It's going to be a little creepy.
Well, why don't we take the pod to him sometime?
We should totally do it. We should surprise the shit out of him and just take it.
You know, like that way he's more comfortable.
He's like half Irish and part Indian, so if we brought him a bottle of booze and just snuck on with the camera, he'd probably be okay with it.
And shoot the shit. I mean, that's all we really do. It's not like we have a topic list. Like, the only thing I have is to try to avoid one subject, and that's it. And I'm dancing around it as best I can.
Right.
But yeah, we don't. I mean, it's just. The main thing, and this is something you actually wanted to talk about. So,
having guests on the show.
It was we've both talked about it. Is that we'd like to have guests on the show. There's a handful of really good local comedians here that I learned that real quick.
Yeah.
One of them was really nice and talked to us, and I'd definitely like to hang out with him and see if he wants to talk about. Didn't he say something like he had just a shitload of embarrassing dating stories or something?
Oh, totally. He had a bunch.
So yeah, I mean that would be fun.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But totally. As I get out and do more open mics and start actually talking to people while I'm there, and go to jiu-jitsu and start actually talking to people when I'm there, and start building these social networks and stuff. And like you have a lot of connections already.
I've got connections from here to China. Literally. Like I've been in business for myself the last 5 years. I had to figure it out.
So, I mean, you know some people that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I know some people that would be interesting.
I wanted to have my cousin Brad on the show today. And, like, it's weird when you have a cousin, but everybody has that one person in their family, right, who tells the most obscene, fucked up stories of shit they've done that they should have never done in the first place. And, like, the man's been to prison. He's been, like, married, like, almost fucking 5 times. He's got, like, 6 kids. And the thing of the matter is, like, he's basically experienced life from every fucking perspective you could have when you were down and out or you were up at the top. He's even got some stories about being kind of a gigolo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I threw a burp in there with it. I had to let it out.
Burps make me laugh.
So he's even got stories about how he was a gigolo in Florida one time or something like that.
Sweet.
And he might have had a restraining order or 2 placed on him. And he might also have a recipe for some badass moonshine and some nice DIY material on how to make some badass moonshine. So, like, I think all in all, if you're going to give your listeners something to listen to informative, it might be some information on how to get them, drunk and piss on, like, next to $7.
Well, plus you said he's funny, right?
He's funny as fuck.
Well, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Just as long as they're entertaining. Like, I mean, we have the thing where we're both kind of aspiring comedians or whatever. I definitely am not confident enough to actually call myself a comedian.
I totally will.
Yet, I've noticed you have that bravado.
I'm not giving up. I am not giving up.
I'm not giving up. I just don't feel like I've earned the title. I feel like I've done more than most people would.
Yeah.
Just going up for my first open mic. but I still have a long way to go, dude.
I put out, like, just 2 hours ago, I put out a video on a couch that my girlfriend got from IKEA. It was delivered to the house by a black man. It was blacker than midnight, every bit of 6'8". He brought the couch in, and I'm just kind of like, I hope you're delivering furniture and you don't want to fuck, because I can't fight you off. I'm going to have to, like, go ahead and acquiesce, as Bert Kreischer would say. And, like, so I take this couch, and it's in a box, and the box is 4 layers of cardboard, and I'm just kind of like, we've sacrificed so many trees for this couch. This couch, like, if you're a redwood in California, you're dreading the fact that, IKEA is going to pick you up and make you a box.
Right.
It's fucking death sentence. And then, like, I've tangled with this couch, and I wrestle this motherfucker like an alligator with dull teeth for an hour and a half. Every single cushion of this couch is vacuum sealed, which means it's never going to contour back to the way it was in the first place. And every single cushion has its own cushion cover, which is like trying to stuff fucking, like, 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. It's like trying to put a fat bitch in a string bikini. It doesn't fucking work. And so, like, I did just, like, basically a small bit on that and everything, and I just videotaped it, and that got, like, 500 views, and people talk mad shit about it, and they were like, it's not funny, and I'm like, you still watched it? 500 people have watched it, and I'm just kind of like, I did a bit about a couch for a minute and a half, and people fucking liked it. Get over it.
Well, I don't know. Either way, I haven't watched that video yet. I just know of its existence.
You're missing out.
But
you'll laugh twice, at least. Just twice.
I have some stuff that when I'm ready to write about it, I think, it should fodder well.
Yeah.
I have, I was actually rethinking my racist family bit a little bit.
Yeah.
And thinking about how to lead that joke off. And I think that the way I should have made that initial joke was to use it as an example of the weird thoughts I already have.
Yeah.
As opposed to the thoughts I'm afraid that I might actually have.
Okay.
Because the whole point was, like, if I got drunk with my family, and I don't really have, like, an overtly racist family, but I do have some, like, subtle overtone.
My mom wouldn't even let us watch the Cosbys. If I brought a black girl home, she'd be like, that's the end of Thanksgiving for life.
But they're not bad people by any stretch, but I drew it out in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I know there are people who grow up with, like, extremely racist families.
Yeah.
And they're not racist. And then they got to contend with that. The fact that I love these people, but they're also, at least in this one way, pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And so, like, I thought that was an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the unique thing that, I guess, coming from low-class white white families or whatever. That
You're talking to the guy who called out his own nephew like 2 weeks ago on Facebook because he's such a prick. Like, I got a nephew who filed for bankruptcy at 25. He fakes having schizophrenia to avoid doing real actual work. He works in a gun shop 20 hours a week, and that's his claim to fame. He doesn't actually do any work when he's there. He just sits at the counter and bullshits and talks about guns. And, like, this is the same dude who was, when he was 24 years of age, was dating a 14-year-old girl and didn't want anybody to find out about it. This is the same dude who faked a brain tumor so he'd go ahead and say, that he basically, a girl was going to leave him that he was interested in romantically. And when he found out, he was like, I have a brain tumor, don't leave me, it's terminal, I'm going to be dead in 6 months, marry me. And she almost fucking did it. That's the scary part. Like, she almost believed his ass too.
Don't get me started on people getting retardedly married.
Oh, yeah. And then fucking, like, so he's the type of guy, and, like, I said something on Facebook, and I wasn't even trying to be, like, really edgy or anything like that or bother him too much. And I just said, like, an offhanded comment or posted a meme or something. And he was like, just kill yourself. Don't reproduce, you fat piece of shit. And I was just kind of like, dude, I was like, when it comes to who's inert in life, I was like, let me just tell you about the restraining orders you've had placed against you, the lack of jobs you have, the fact that you live in your grandmother's fucking basement and you pay no rent. And then let's just go ahead and talk about how inept you are at every other facet in life. And I was like, I will gladly call you out to a gym. We'll put on pads. We'll time the rounds because I know you smoke 3-pack a day and don't do any cardio. And I will fucking murder you. And I was like, and if anything, we can invite people to come watch. People can pay $5 a head and I'll donate it to charity. Like, I don't need the fucking money. I don't need the notoriety from saying I beat this kid's ass because I know I can. I just want the fucking satisfaction of hitting him in his mouth because he'll never fucking shut it. And it's my sister's kid. And my sister's been married like 5 fucking times to like 5 different dudes. We call her the Black Widow of the family.
Yeah.
Because once you marry her, she pretty much sucks out your bank account and any hope you may have. She kills you off. And she's got rheumatoid arthritis, so she's twitchy. And I like, she's really twitchy. So I'm like, dude, you and your twitchy mom can both come and I'll slap the fuck out of both of you. I'm not really worried about it. Like, this is the family I come from. These are the people I deal with. It sucks.
Right. So that's a perspective that we bring.
That's a perspective.
Right. So the thing that I don't think people realize about now I'm just suddenly getting into bigger issues, but like, I don't think people realize about the white privilege argument.
Yeah.
Inherently, we maybe have a better chance at certain things.
Right.
However, don't act like rich white people don't look down on poor white people too.
That's a thing.
Like,
gentrification has existed for quite a while.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
And we don't have the same historical, at least recent historical shit attached to it. But poor ass white people might as well be black people to rich ass white people.
That's pretty much it.
And I don't think that black people understand that. And so and I still acknowledge that I still have a couple advantages that they don't.
Yeah.
So it's not that white privilege doesn't exist as a concept. It's that I don't think it's as broad as they like to think it is.
Okay.
And I think the idea of wrestling with that conflict of not being a racist person, but sometimes being perceived as one anyway for being white.
Yeah.
But then also having the racist people around you and you don't like that, but you love them. And that whole thing, I think, is a good joke.
Yeah.
If I can get it out right. So instead of leading off with black people in bondage, then I use that as an example of the close to the line thoughts I already have.
Okay.
And then sort of start off talking about the fact that I, the subject of the joke, come from a racist family.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I did play around with that idea a little bit.
Yeah. I also have an idea for a guest later on. I have a friend who's a stereotypical hot girl, and she does use it to her advantage, and she is well aware of the fact that she is a decent-looking girl.
Yeah, you've told me about that.
Yeah, and she's trying to find a sitter for her kids. Imagine that. That's what happens when you have kids. This is why I don't. And so she's trying to find a babysitter for her kids so she can be on the podcast and everything. But I think I'd love to have an episode where we just hear about the perspective of life from a girl's point of view, when especially like you have a big rack and like, you know, a decent face and like you use it to your advantage. Because I know there's a ton of guys out there who have tried to go ahead and like, you know, get a girl like that and who put themselves through hell, like, you know, working to pay for the dates to, you know, entertain a girl like that, and who've tried to spit their best game on a girl like that and only been like, you know, misplaced and thrown out at the end. And I'd love to hear about the perspective of a girl and like what she's doing, like how she's noticing these things and like how she's utilizing this or how she's choosing to ignore this type of thing, and just the kind of attention she receives.
Right.
Just because she's got a rack, a tight butt, and a nice face. Like,
but she's also the kind of person. This is my main question because I don't know her.
Yeah.
Is she the type of person who's going to be honest about the fact that, like, if she has used it for, like...
Oh, she totally would be.
Okay.
She totally would be.
Because I don't want anyone in my life at all walking through that threshold that's going to dance around any kind of fucking mystical bullshit or like try to make themselves.
Oh no,
like,
she'll tell you all about it. Like she was telling me the other night. She was telling me the other night how she just got a $900 house because the guy was interested in her, and she's like, "Well, I'll let you maintain interest, and I'll even show you my Amazon wish list, but it's not going to go farther than that." And he's like, "Well, here's $1,000. Let me impress you." And she's like, "Well, that's a down payment on a house. I'm going to take that, but we're not going anywhere with this." And so that's how that happened.
Well, at least she was honest.
At least she was.
That's the main thing. Like, be honest.
That's the thing I want right there. Like, I want that type of realism
with the people you're dealing with.
Yeah.
If he's willing to give you $1,000 and that's all he's getting out of it,
yeah,
fucking God bless you.
There was
as long as that's an honest transaction.
Yeah,
I don't care.
There are groups on the internet, and it's like they're called pay pigs, is what these men are essentially labeled as. And what they do is,
I've heard of this.
Yeah, they search out women and everything like that, and they go ahead and they pay them money.
Femdoms.
Yeah, femdoms, the financial dominatrixes, pretty much. And they search out these women and everything, and they pay them money just to be degraded and fucking ignored and treated like shit. And that's their fetish. That's what gets them off. And like, there's a whole fucking giant group of this. And even when she told me the story after that, I gave her like 5 or 6 links to some of those groups, and I was like, well, here, go make a killing off of it. And like, I'm not gonna lie, dude, if I had a set of like nice ass boobies and like I had a decent face, I would totally do this.
All right, well, here's the thing. I assume that if I was, let's just say, assuming I was born a heterosexual woman.
Okay.
And through genetics and not fucking myself up.
This is a big stretch.
I am attractive.
Okay, I am attractive. Not a bearded man on a couch.
I most likely, at least at some point in between 18 and like 32, would have done porn.
Okay.
Because I'm a freak and I'm saying all other things about me equal,
Yeah.
personality and all of that,
Yeah.
then I'd totally been out there and be like, what, I can make $5,000 and I just got to do some freaky shit?
Yeah.
I like freaky shit. Let's do some
I'd be
freaky
down
shit.
as fuck. I really would.
Like, so I don't hate on that.
Yeah.
It's dishonesty that gets me. I
Yeah.
don't want anyone walking through that fucking door
Yeah.
that isn't going to look me in the eye and tell the truth.
Yeah.
And so if she's like that, then she's
Oh
more than
yeah, she's
welcome
brutally true about it. That's the best part about it. It's awesome. Let's see. I don't know what other guests we should have though. Like, I don't even know if we should cross pollinate podcasts unless they're really good or
on. I'm
whatnot.
a firm believer that if we enjoy them and they enjoy us,
Yeah.
we should totally share space.
Yeah.
And I know that you do not like the audio quality of the Tempting Floodle podcast.
I really don't.
I'm just gonna get your criticism out of the way right up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because those are my friends.
I know they're your homies.
They're also very funny.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to get them on to one of our shows.
Yeah.
Maybe not all together. Maybe all together. I got enough microphones. We
Yeah.
can totally do it. And I don't know if I'll have the time or not, but I've offered at times to produce.
I listened to like one episode they did, and it was about Godzilla, and they were talking about all the variations of Godzilla, and they just didn't capture all the variations of Godzilla. It wasn't as funny as it would be. It was like locker room humor, and like there are certain people out there who are Godzilla fanatics. It's like those true crime podcasts. When you talk about crimes people have committed that happened in real life, people flock to those in droves of 30,000 at a time.
True crime shit's blowing up.
Oh, totally! It's insane, and like even with the Godzilla podcast, like that's a small niche area, sure, but there are a ton of people who'd be interested in talking about Godzilla, and like what it was mostly like locker room talk, and I was just kind of like, man, y'all have just totally killed the premise of this episode, and like I was just kind of like, I'm gonna have to press the eject button on this one, and then like listen to a few more, and I don't know, some of the voices, like one of the guys I went to high school with or whatever, he had this like a adorable little kid voice, and like it kept throwing me off every now and then because he talked, and I'd be like, oh, you're cute for a 12-year-old, and I was like, fuck, I went to high school with this dude.
Floodle.
I was like,
yeah, I guarantee you that's Floodle. He's got the silliest, funniest voice to me.
yeah, DJ Thunder Thighs was one he called, and
Thunder Thighs, yeah, Thunder Thighs, Thunder Juice.
Yeah, Thunder
That's my
Thighs.
buddy Josh.
Yeah, like
he's got a deep voice.
Yeah, he's got a real deep voice. I was like, we should let
He's
Thunder Thighs
funny
talk
as
more.
fuck.
Yeah, I was like, Thunder
But
Thighs
he's
should talk more.
He likes to. We actually did. I went over there,
Yeah.
and we did an episode with him where he hosted the show.
Yeah.
And it was a total fucking train wreck. He does not want to be the center.
He doesn't want to be
He
put on the
wants
spot.
to lob out his asshole humor
Yeah.
where it fits.
Okay.
And I respect the hell out
Hey,
of
if
that.
you want to be the peanut in the gallery, I'm all for it. Like, you know.
So we're actually Thunder Thighs for sure is going to be on the podcast.
Thunder Thighs would be a welcome
And,
addition to this podcast for a decent episode.
DJ Temptation.
His
and,
one-liners are hilarious.
Floodle, everybody, I'd like to get them all on here, but we'll
Yeah.
see how that goes because I like them all together too. But Josh is actually a buddy from way back when.
Yeah.
And just to sit down and he's a good guy. So yeah. Anyway,
I thought about doing like a Craigslist call out too,
Yeah.
and seeing what we encounter with that.
like interesting people.
Yeah, like if I want to do an episode sometime where we have like a token black dude on here who's really aware of the fact that he's black.
But he's like so stereotypically black.
And, like no, but
Like,
he's like
legit?
intelligent about it though.
Oh no, okay. I
Like-
got you.
like-
I thought we were going for comedy.
No, I mean that might be that's an idea to
Absurdist
have. I'd
comedy,
entertain
like
the shit out of that
blackest
too.
Black man we could.
I would
find.
entertain the shit out of that though.
And
I
then we
really
gotta
would.
find. What if we could get the blackest black man we could find and the whitest white man we could find?
No, that's a thing. Okay,
And, like,
white black dudes
sound-
freak me out, like especially with the vernacular and then like how calm they are and shit. Because like you look at Cat Williams or somebody and like they're animated as fuck, and then you give me like the white black dude who has like the white person vernacular and like wears a fucking cardigan sweater and like khakis.
Wayne Brady.
Wayne Brady, yes, you give me some Wayne Brady shit, and all of a sudden like I'm having a meltdown. Like I don't know how to
Wayne
perceive
Brady.
that shit.
Actually, I do love Wayne Brady.
Wayne Brady gonna have
He's
choke a
one of- is
bitch.
Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch. Yeah. So like whatever weird shit we can come up with
Yeah, yeah.
that would throw a monkey wrench in this thing, I'm totally down for it.
Yeah.
I just like I said, honesty is my only rule.
That's pretty much where I'm at with that. I want the realism. I
If
don't
there's
want the
things
fake.
people don't want to talk about, that's fine.
I would rather someone
But-
tell me they don't want to talk about something on air than like that's I won't badger, I won't
'Cause
push. Like that's
I'm doing
fine.
it today, and everyone knows what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not the point. The point is like I'm having to say it out loud to put the brakes on. Is
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
But, anyway, yeah. I don't want bullshitters. That's
Yeah.
So yeah, if we find a good local podcast group that wants to get together, I'm cool with it.
Okay.
I think that if the thing is that there's only so many people right now who listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And so every bit that we can share our audiences through any common interests is advantageous to everyone.
Yeah.
The rising tide raises all boats. So as long as we have a good, there's no predicting if we sit down and the podcast sucks and we got to do another one the next day or whatever.
I don't really like the idea of putting out a shitty podcast.
If we sit down and it's awkward and it doesn't flow well and it's just like,
I've got your TV set up on your entertainment center with no stand to it, leaning against the wall.
Oh, that's
and
shit.
I've got like a fucking wires rat's nest of cords running off the tiny computer we're using as a central server because I just really want to give them something to do today, even though we're going to be lazy and sit on the couch half baked. So it is what it is.
Yeah, basically. But I honestly, dude, I'm digging the couch.
I'm really okay with the couch. Like I'm mostly a floor sitter anyway.
This might be a new take on things.
Yeah.
The tables are still here, and we'll break it out when we need to. But
right.
I'm cool with this. I just think maybe I need to block the light out behind me. Maybe we got to flip the DBZ banner around and put it behind the couch. But
we should have thought about the aesthetics of this when we finally set it up
and light it a little better. And we need a better camera too.
We totally need a better camera. Just for your information, if you're looking at this on Facebook Live, I do salvage for a living, which means I basically take things out of homes that have been foreclosed upon, seized by the bank, or they're eviction homes. And so some of this stuff that we get is kind of like it's kind of like our own personal yard sale. We basically made a podcast out of whatever Matt had on hand from his music studio, whatever I could track down from dumpsters and foreclosed homes, and that's just kind of how we put the thing together. So if we can do this, you can probably do it too in your own living room. It's not like a thing. We're not superheroes. We're just two fat dudes who'd like to talk.
Yeah, that's about the long and short of it. But 32 people reached, huh?
32.
Well, anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, we have a lot of possibilities.
We don't have a closed off. Oh shit! I got audio feedback. Anyway, we don't have a closed off genre per se.
Yeah,
we tend towards comedy because we laugh about shit, and but if we can find someone with any kind of interesting story, I'm
all about it. I'm still waiting on another update from the Gerbil Slayer. I think it was like episode 2 or 3. We did a reading of a guy who was his prison story memoirs, and I've been trying to get a hold of this guy. I don't know if he got back on the crack and smack, or if he just decided he was going to get a job, or if he's just having an episode of bipolar where he's just not going to go ahead and be social. But I would like to get another writing from this kid and actually read it online and everything, and or on the air, and I think it'd be pretty cool. But we'll see what happens with that.
Indeed, we shall.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the big one for me is we had the idea for the religion conversation.
I really would. What was it we wanted to?
Me, you, Tim, and Matt.
Buddy,
Matt Hutchinson. Where you're a devout atheist.
I'm totally a devout atheist.
I am. I'm between agnostic and Christian.
Foggy agnostic.
Tim is a Christian man.
Totally. Grew up with his son. He was also a youth pastor when I knew him. So.
Right. But he's also a kick-ass rock and roller.
He totally is.
And a blues man, a cool blues man. And Matt is a pagan.
Dancing around trees naked. I'd do that one if I, wanted to believe some.
Definitely believe that we could have an interesting conversation there.
I really like that, actually.
It's just the biggest thing is Tim. He's gigging every weekend.
Yeah, it's getting all the schedules to coincide, and make sense,
so
and everything
we
else.
Might have to find a weeknight or something. But
yeah,
Matt works. Yeah. Anyway, but I don't know the weight loss thing, and then what we're trying to look at doing with the
guests.
pod.
And we've also done the race to 100 subscribers.
Yeah.
We definitely got to keep throwing that out there. Now I posted this in a group called Podcast We Listen to on Facebook. I urge everybody to check that out once in a while. It's not bad. For every 100 shitty podcasts on there, you'll find 2 or 3 good ones, and they're worth checking out. There's one about 8-bit Nintendo games that a guy does religiously. There's a true crime one I listen to, but it's mostly cultists is what they talk about, like Waco and Jim Jones subscribers and
that's kinda
the traveling comment of Hail Bop and all the crazy stuff like that.
Oh wow!
And so there's some cool podcasts, and I posted the race to 100 subscribers in that one, and they said I could have my own little thread, and I was like, oh, you really love me, and then I had to lock the thread so nobody comment on it, which means I can't bump it.
Yeah.
And then so nobody else can bump it either, and even if you like it, it gets like no more notifications on it.
There's like hundreds of posts to that page. Every day.
Everybody's whoring for the man on that site.
Yeah, basically what it is, it's not some people are just genuinely sharing podcasts they like, but what it is, and I've been guilty of this since I've done it in other groups where I kind of try to set up a conversation that'll lead to me being able to plug the podcast.
Like, let me be my own agent.
Yeah, which is, it's shameless self-promotion.
It totally is. That's what I call it.
But I don't have anyone else to promote me right now.
Yeah,
so,
right.
You got to do what you got to do. And I want to get out of that factory one day. So
yeah. So now, for our new listeners, we have a microphone. It is an analog to USB converter. It has an analog to USB converter cable.
And is also capable of standard XLR analog cable.
Yeah, it is also capable of that, what he said, because he's much more experienced and knowledgeable on this shit than I am. And it's a Shure, what was it?
It's the Shure SM58.
That's what happens when you smoke.
Industry standard and stage microphone.
That's right.
It's also good for recording podcasts, vocals, and select instruments. I wish I had the money to buy us a set of them.
Yeah.
I honestly, if I'd have known you had that before you had already committed to giving it away, I would have probably had you add it to our collection.
Yeah, viewership.
But we need to get some numbers. So the goal of our deal is we're trying to get to 100 likes on our Facebook page
and the YouTube,
and 100 subscriptions on our YouTube channel. That's subscriptions, not views, not likes. Subscriptions.
Yes.
You have to log in. You have to click subscribe. And once we get to 100, we are going to take a list of everyone and we're going to double check it to make sure. We got to decide. Are we going to let people have double entries if they do both? Or
I didn't really let people.
Have to wean them out?
Not so far at this time. Like basically the way I went ahead and did it was if you click like on the Facebook page, you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you send me an inbox with your actual name and say, hey, I did both the like and the subscription for YouTube, then you're automatically entered into the contest. If the contest is good, we're going to go ahead and do a live drawing where we'll be on camera and you'll hear the sounds we make on the microphone and everything.
Right.
And so you'll know we're not up to anything shady. You'll be watching us in real time, fill out your names on a piece of paper.
Word.
And stick them in a fish bowl or a fucking cardboard box or whatever we can to obscure the names from ourselves. And then we'll go ahead and pull one name at random, and that person will go ahead and get basically a $100 microphone for their own podcast, or if they're a musician or whatever, have at it. And it's anywhere in the continental United States. I'm not fucking with customs. I'm not doing Canada. I'm not doing fucking Brazil or wherever else you're from. If you're an international listener or something crazy, thank you very much for your support. But my wallet cannot support shipping you that shit.
Also, if we draw your name and then find out you're not interested, we're not going to give you cash. You can pass it on to the next person.
That's pretty much it.
I know there are some people who listen to us that don't podcast, that aren't musicians, that may not need it. So either you can take the microphone if you win it, or pass it on like a nice person to the next person we draw. We're not going to get into stupid arguments about it. There's not going to be any cash alternative. There's none of that bullshit. There's a microphone. We'll give it away. That's the content.
That's the thing. And so far, I think we're at like 18 or 19 YouTube subscribers, maybe 43 likes on Facebook, which is like actually a big jump from where we were at last week.
We were in the mid-20s.
Yeah, we were in the mid-20s last week for Facebook, and we were like in the low teens just starting out for YouTube. So, I mean, at least we're gaining a decent following off that. And even if it is blatant bribery, I'm not ashamed to do it. And like, just so you understand,
we're the first people to do it.
Yeah, like, I could be using sex appeal, but neither one of us are hot enough for that, and I don't have a girl with loose enough morals and poor enough judgment that I can extort right now or exploit for your own personal amusement online for a drawing or some type of thing. So there is that.
I'd have to reorder those words, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, help us grow our shit. If you like it, share it. Tell a buddy that you might think like we do, or enjoy conversation with people like us or something. It doesn't have to be necessarily people that toe the same ideals or bound like whatever we give here. just people that would vibe with us, and let's get some discussion going.
Free flowing, free thinking discussion without any judgment is what we're trying to offer you. Doesn't mean if you're stupid, we're not going to call you stupid. That happens because Matt calls me stupid. I call him stupid. It's a thing we do.
It's true.
It's our dynamic. So what we're trying to do is that, like, I think next week we're going to have my cousin on who's been married like 6 times. He's got like 6 kids. And the thing is, he's a really intelligent guy. He can pretty much build anything out of spare parts laying around the house. You give him a fucking paper clip and like a rubber band and a couple nuts and bolts, and he can make a goddamn rocket ship.
MacGyver.
Yeah, and like he's really actually, like, in his stories and everything, he's got a decent vocabulary and he's really articulate. So like it'll be a good show altogether. I think next week when we finally get him on the show, and we're just going to start building guests off of that. And if you guys ever have any ideas and you want to hear us talk about something or address something just from our unique perspectives, because, well, nobody thinks the same in a world of 7 billion people and change or whatever we're at now. Waiting fuck. And so, like, if you ever want to have a topic to throw at us and let us know that you want to hear about this, give it a shot. I'm not down for evaluating movies and video games in real time on the podcast. I'd rather talk about shit that actually matters to us. But I mean, if you want to know our opinions on stuff like that, feel free to ask.
To be honest, I feel like I should say that I think Thor Ragnarok was a good movie.
Jeff Goldblum as like the fucking tyrant was what was killing me.
Funny.
You had the guy from The Fly in Jurassic Park, like he was the fucking like patriarch of the whole thing.
But he was so weird too.
He was totally
he wasn't like a hardcore villain. He was just a weird fucking.
His neon blue eyeshadow and his like socially misanthropic attitude.
The melt stick.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just threw that in there because you said something about movies.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to sit and do a podcast for an entire
movie review show.
Yeah.
If we see a good movie, we might bring it up. But
I've had people ask me, why don't you do movies and video games? And I'm just kind of like, because my time means more to me than that. I hate to say it that way, but there's no other fucking way I can lay it out for you.
I love video games.
Yeah.
But if I let myself, I will waste my fucking life.
I will fall into a pit in despair if you give me a first-person shooter.
I've been in this house for 2 weeks going insane.
Yeah.
And one of the things I absolutely did not do was hook up my Xbox.
Yeah.
Because I would know you would not have heard from me. You would not have seen me. I would have just been in there fucking in the dark playing Xbox.
My girlfriend got me Nintendo Retro for Christmas, and I took me like a month to want to hook it up. I was hesitant because I knew what would happen. Like, you basically tell me there's 5,000 Nintendo games on it, which, by the way, is not a real fucking thing when you advertise at Nintendo. What you have essentially is 250 Nintendo games, and then like 4,000 other Japanese titles you can't pronounce of the same other 250 games. I'm on your shit. It's not worth $150 if you're going to spend it. I got it for $49.99 on Black Friday. Eat a dick, Nintendo. But the thing of the matter was, like, it took me a month to hook it up. And when I finally hooked it up, I played that son of a bitch for 4 fucking hours. And I was so lost in Battletoads and Turtles in Time. And I got myself stoned as shit. So, like, I was definitely in the zone. I was not coming back. I was eating chicken wraps if they're going to style.
It's totally cool once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, I love to do that on occasion. And I will, like, I'll come home from work and I'll play an hour of Titanfall or something.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't allow myself to sit on video games for long periods.
I can't be productive after that, though. Once I get stuck in that, like, fucking
I get
pit of console despair, like, my jokes don't get written, my books don't get written.
The only time I sit down and play video games is when I don't have shit else to
do. I start to even dread my job. And the thing is, I'm self-employed. I love my job. I'm my own boss. Like, when I have self-loathing because I can't put down a video game controller, I've obviously hit a small level of rock bottom, whether I want to admit it or not.
Right. So, video game reviews, we're never going to play enough to, like, I mean, we love them. And if it comes up, it's another thing where if it comes up in conversation, we'll talk about it. But, really, we're just talking about life and what's going on. It's sort of like I said. Well, all right. If you were with me on the Matt Signal at all, one of the things I said, my influences, as far as podcasts and comedy and just sort of my gauge of what's funny, you're looking at Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, like Tom Segura, Christina Pazsitzky, like that whole Death Squad crew, and then there's some New York comics I really like too. But like, and then there's like, some oddball ones that aren't like podcasters, like Anthony Jeselnik, who I really like, and like, I've just discovered John Mulaney is hilarious.
Okay, yeah.
And, like, but as far as podcasters, it's the Joe Rogans and the Joey Diaz's.
I'm a big Joey Diaz fan at the moment. Like, I can't do Joe Rogan. I'm not a Roganite. I'll say it again and again. I like Joe Rogan as a person. I like what he has to say.
You guys hang out a lot?
I mean, like, as a person, though, no, he's an accomplished kickboxer. Like, he's done stand-up in the most fucking crunchiest dive bars the United States has to offer.
Him.
I respect the shit out of him. And so, like, so I respect him as a man and, like, his accomplishments and everything. And, like, I love watching his podcast and his insights and stuff like that. But, like, his fans fucking drive me nuts, dude.
Oh, dude, the Joe Rogan board?
Oh, my God.
I don't even fuck with it. Like
they're
I
like,
love Rogan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good people in there too, but like it's so overcrowded with bullshit.
They're all like kettlebells or go fuck your mother, and I'm like, you don't work out, socially misanthropic kid who can't get a date. Shut up.
The Church of What's Happening Now is where it's at, man. Like,
the Church of What's Happening Now is awesome.
I want to give a shout out to everyone in that group. Several times I've shared things that have haunted me at different times, or the most recent one, and this is the one that meant a lot to me, was when I just told everybody I told them like a few days beforehand, I said I was going through some shit. I said, but I'm not going to get into that in the group. I'll do that on my own page.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to do my first open mic. Wish me luck.
Yeah.
That one, I got a little bit, a few people said whatever, but what got me,
Joey.
and it's not the first time these guys have been there for
Yeah.
What got me was that I just dropped a line in there that I was like, getting ready to do my first open mic. I'm fucking excited.
Yeah.
And I got 200 different people liked and hearted.
Yeah, that was
and all
awesome.
that shit, which was really cool. All these people commenting just nice words. Go up there, man. I wish I had the balls to do that. Like all this shit. And then what got me was the first one was Lee Syatt, the co-host of the Church of What's Happening Now podcast, and current stand-up comedian who's working his way up the ranks.
Who Joey calls a functional savage because he doses them with fucking psychedelics and shit behind his back.
The Flying Jew.
Yeah.
Just gave me a few words of encouragement, told me not to worry about the reactions.
Yeah.
Just nice thing to say, a nice calming thing to say from someone you look up to.
Yeah.
And then Joey fucking Coco
Diaz
showed up and he told me what was up. Who's better than me? Nobody. He said Uncle Joey was with me.
Yeah, Uncle Joey was with you.
And I went up there and I bombed like a motherfucker. It was awesome.
Uncle Joey was your spirit guide.
But I also watched it back and I didn't bomb as bad as I thought I did.
Nah, that's why I recorded for you.
I couldn't hear what I heard on the tape,
Yeah.
Like, because I was thinking.
Yeah.
It was really loud in my head.
Yeah.
And so those chuckles that came along after while I was trying to work into the next thing or whatever, I didn't catch them.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was dead silence, like for over half of it.
Yeah.
And I got at least a couple laughs a minute. So out of the 3.5 minutes I saw.
Yeah.
So that's pretty badass, man. Like,
yeah, there you go.
you know what fuck it. I got laughs.
You got laughs.
I didn't get all the laughs. I didn't kill like the ex-con dude who was reading your sheet.
No, ain't that some shit?
I don't think he was stealing your material. I think he wanted to see where you were going.
I'll be his daddy.
You ran out of time.
Yeah.
And you wrapped it up.
Yeah.
But he was just chilling there. But he killed.
Yeah.
And then when he killed, that's when I freaked out and had to go because I was like, oh, dude. This guy just murdered.
Yeah.
And I was horrible. But then I finally watched the video back a couple days ago. And no, it really wasn't that bad. Like, it could have went a lot worse.
And Joey Coco Diaz supported you.
Goddamn right. So to the Church of What's Happening Now, if any of you bad motherfuckers listen to my podcast, I love you guys and thank you.
I'm a big fan, and trust me, I'm a hard person to impress. I really am. I'm not a conformist thinker. That's what drives me nuts about the Roganites. Everybody latches on to his words. And, like, here's the thing. When somebody says something funny, this is a major pet peeve of mine, stop fucking regurgitating it because you're killing the goddamn vibe. Like, Joey Diaz does this bit where he hates fucking ranch. He's like, blue cheese or go fuck your mom. And, like, if you approach me and say blue cheese or go fuck my mother, I'm not even a fan of my own mother, but I will slap you in the goddamn mouth. I can't fucking take it.
I mean, we use that joke, but we use it more selectively.
No, there are people out there who fucking just, like, put this shit in their everyday vernacular, though.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
they quote Joe Rogan like it's their own fucking quotes and stuff, and I'm like,
blue cheese with the wings or go fuck your mother, dog.
yeah, and they quote, like, Joe Rogan's insights and shit like that, and I'm just kind of like, you're not Joe Rogan, though,
All right.
dude.
I will admit that over the course of listening to literally hundreds of Joe Rogan experiences, in the last year or so, I have experienced a shift in the way I think.
Yeah.
And it has definitely influenced me. However, the one thing I don't want to do is as soon as I realize I'm repeating a Rogan talking point,
Yeah.
I either have to rearrange whatever the fuck it is I'm working on or scrap it. Because they're my influences, but I don't want to get to a point where I can't listen to them anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so,
and the drug use is what gets me in some of them. Like, okay, so I understand these guys have been on the road for a long time. They're accustomed to doing miscellaneous drugs, psychedelics, and smoking a shit ton of the cannabis and everything else. And I love me some potses. And I'm not judging like your personal choices and everything. However, if you have a person think that you're going to listen to a podcast and then you're going to go ahead and pick up the habit of doing psychedelics and taking like fucking 8 grams of shrooms when you've never done them, or if you're going to go ahead and fucking smoke blunt after blunt like you're fucking Snoop Dogg, like understand something. We as individuals all have completely different body chemistries, different social disorders, different mental disorders. And if you're going to go ahead and pollute yourself with a ton of fucking drugs, know what those drugs do and what the effect they have on you are before you fucking run your mouth and try to act cool because you're just buying a bag of shit and fucking eating it or smoking it.
I will say this. I am a fan of the shroom.
Yeah.
I do enjoy a good spirit journey. I honestly really need one. So if anybody I'm listening to knows how to hook that up, you know where to find me.
I don't know if we should do an episode where we're shrooming. I mean, I would be down for it.
I'd try it.
I'd give it a shot. If it was bad, we just wouldn't publish it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's more about like, and I don't always do it, but you're supposed to. For me, I don't like to have too much sensory overload.
No, I don't either.
So I made a mistake a couple times where I kept my phone out, or like I was, like right now would be the perfect time. I need to shut all my electronics off, light a couple candles, keep a notebook nearby, and just sit on the couch and fucking confront my mind.
Some of the best trips I've ever had were just me in the dark with a glow-in-the-dark fucking slinky.
Right.
While taking some 2CI, 2CE, or hitting the mushrooms. Like, those are my things.
So, yeah, it's not that I don't advise it so much as I say think about it.
Yeah.
Now, what I haven't talked about yet is that there was a period of time not too long ago where I was coming to grips with the fact that I have long-term depression and PTSD. And during that time, they also said that I had a lot of the indicators for bipolar 2. What I found out was that they put me on about 11 different medications.
Yeah.
And every last one of them had negative side effects.
I think we covered that in episode 2.
Okay, so the point of that being, I had to go through a process to learn about my brain chemistry to find out that I have depression due to some things that have happened.
Yeah.
And it's really something that I'll at least occasionally have to struggle with for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm getting better as time goes on. Like, you wouldn't know it.
Right.
But this isn't the worst meltdown I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even call it a meltdown. I would call it a series of legitimate complaints.
Okay, complaint department.
But I understand also that many people don't like, they don't want to engage in negativity all the time.
Yeah,
people who like me don't necessarily like that I'm going through a bunch of shit.
Sure.
So I understand that maybe it's not everyone's favorite topic.
Yeah.
However, it's my life.
Right.
And so I've ran into that, but it also, like, I've become better at managing these things. I've learned, I believe that I don't actually have the bipolar 2.
Yeah.
And that meds aren't for me.
Okay.
But when I'm off of them, I can handle shrooms.
Yeah.
Point is, I did a lot of research.
He did some research. He totally did.
And so do that.
All I'm trying to say is you're trying to model your drug habits and your recreational drug use after the habits of famous people. And these people have been doing this shit for 20 fucking years. Joey Diaz has got stories starting from like 1984 when he first started like having a fucking ounce a day, like coke selling little like drug enterprise at the age of 20 years of age, 22 years of age. Joe Rogan can tell you stories about how he was like fucking teenager and upcoming kickboxer and he was getting drunk for the first time and trying whatever someone would give him as a party designer drug and stuff like that. And there's other podcasters out there too, like Bert Kreischer and stuff like that, who can tell you he drank alcohol every day, but he fucking
still gets fucked up
on
occasion.
Yeah.
as far as I mean, he's a drinker, but
Yeah.
The point is don't model your decisions
Yeah.
after another person. Like, don't be like, oh, Joe Rogan does that, so I'm gonna do that.
I heard the biggest thing
Be
about
like,
fucking
that thing's interesting.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
want to try that. Like, do it out of curiosity, not trying to be
the last year. It's been like
someone you're not.
kratom, kale shakes, and fucking kettlebells. And this is from people who don't work out, people who don't like the taste of kale shakes, and there's other venues of dieting and other avenues to take. You don't have to kale shake it because Joe Rogan does. And like kettlebells, and like I lift with kettlebells 3 times a week on a regular basis, and I was doing it long before someone made the recommendations on their small, like their once small but now huge meteoric rise to stardom radio show. And it's just, no, it's ridiculous. Like my inspirations of like people for comedy and stuff is like George Carlin, fucking
Carlin is the man as far as I'm concerned.
yeah.
But I'm also like, I understand that I just got to stop you at Carlin.
It's
because
okay.
I don't get a chance to talk about him much.
Everybody should.
It seems like for some reason, out of the pool of modern comedians,
yeah.
he is not held up to the standard that I believe
Uh-huh.
he should be.
Yeah.
And
He's
I
underrated
think
as fuck.
his edge in satire
Yeah.
was profound in a way that, like,
It was way ahead of its time.
I mean, we're talking the 60s.
Yeah.
Like when he started with the hippy dippy weatherman,
Yeah.
and then he slowly kind of evolved into the modern, before he passed,
Yeah.
who he became. And I think Complaints and Grievances might be the one that he did in 2001.
Yeah.
That to me is his best work.
Okay.
He did that after 9/11.
Yeah.
The first joke, and it always, like, I love this because he comes out, he doesn't want to deal with everybody cheering, and he's like, just come on, sit down. Like, all right. And then he says, oh, fuck, did I just lose it?
I think you might have lost it.
I want to say that the first joke is, do you know why they put a cock on a weather vane? Because if it had a cunt, the wind would blow right through it.
Okay.
The very first thing he said.
Yeah.
No. It's even better than that. He comes out, come on, sit down. You know what people don't talk about anymore? Pussy farts.
That was okay.
The first line is so good.
Yeah.
It's just like, that was the first time I saw him.
Yeah.
And I was in. I was like, that's fucking, like, I don't know. I was like maybe 16.
Yeah.
Ish, and like, that was hilarious to me. But then he takes you through this perspective on society, and I don't think he carries as much white privilege with it as a lot of people suggest.
Not
he
at
does.
all.
I think he gives you a pretty fair.
It's like hearing your drunk grandpa who's got like a fucking like degree in poli science like talk some shit. It's hilarious.
I think he carries an awareness on him that, like. So anyway, he was my favorite.
Yeah.
He's my. A lot of people. It seems like most people go to Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor was the one I was going to. That's my second one, as a matter of fact.
Richard Pryor was amazing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. He's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
But his comedy comes. It's not so far removed from where I'm from.
Yeah.
But it's also a different era.
Oh, totally.
But so is Carlin.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He didn't resonate with me as much, but he's still one of the best.
I've listened to some of
ever
Richard
lived.
Pryor's like behind the scenes footage, and like Richard Pryor was a huge cokehead, and he was always like, he's like
he was
everything's
really
always
cracked.
yeah. He's like everything's always better with a pound of cocaine, and I'm just kind of like he's like even boxing, and like it was just some of the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life because you don't expect anybody to ever say that shit.
He has one bit about setting himself on fire lighting a crack pipe. And it's hilarious. Like, but that was a real thing that happened. I'm pretty sure he had to go to the hospital, and it was in the news and all that shit. And like then he had to come out and talk about it. It was
And
like,
set myself on fire with a crack pipe.
You're
Yeah.
a stand-up comedian. You're gonna have to come out and address whatever.
Yeah.
So that's part of why I look forward to Louis C.K. coming back.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna have to somehow talk about what happened.
Yeah.
Like, and how is he gonna make the fact that he was a creep funny? Like, because he did some bad shit.
Yeah.
It was like, it was not the worst shit ever. Like, people totally could have got up and walked out of the room.
Yeah.
But like, it's also weird. to just pull your dick out and start jerking off in front of people.
It totally is. I mean, I've tried it. I didn't get like a whole lot of success out of it.
Without consent.
Yeah.
It's usually a poor idea.
I used to have this go-to move when I hit on girls. I'll admit this now because there's plenty of girls who probably going to hear this that's seen me do it. But in fact, like when I'd be in an intimate setting with girls in my like early 20s and mid 20s, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm just not in the mood" and stuff like that. I just start masturbating right in front of them. I just be like, "Well, one of us is going to get off today, and it's not going to be you."
That actually could probably qualify as a sex crime now.
It actually could.
Like, yeah, that's the thing.
And the thing is, like 95% of the time when I did it, like it actually worked. That's the thing of the matter is, like that worked.
Yeah, more often than not. I mean, if you're in that setting, all right. So the thing that a lot of people don't like to acknowledge is that there's a pursuit aspect to sex.
There totally is.
Sometimes saying no is flirting.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but you've got to be enough of a human being and not so much of an animal,
Yeah,
as to recognize the difference between a hard no and like a playful, like, try again in a few minutes after we neck, you know.
Yeah.
Like, that's the important thing is, like, for one, like, if a chick turns me down for sex, I don't really want to keep making out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm turned on. I want to fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that's not weird.
Blue balls is a thing. Prostatic congestion. It's a thing.
So I don't want to keep getting, like, anyway. So yeah, it's
Right from comics talking about sex.
Don't, and we're probably gonna get back into comics. But, don't like do the, don't go back and start making out again, and don't expect the guy to like try again.
Will you still love me in the morning? Or I swear I hardly ever do this, or I'm not this type of girl. And it's just kind of like, we're all that type of person when it comes to being in the sheets. Just stop
like
throwing
to
labels
have
at it.
sex.
Stop trying to convince yourself that it's okay to have an orgasm. I'm pro-orgasm. I'm good with it. Progasm. Yeah, let's see. So Richard Pryor was a good one. I love Louis Anderson back in the 90s. Nobody ever gave Louis Anderson enough like fucking props. He had like his own cartoon show.
I picture him and I know who he is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I ever saw him do stand-up.
He's done plenty of stand-up, yeah.
I feel like I remember seeing him on a stage at some point.
Yeah.
Not in person, but like on TV. I don't remember his material at all.
He always talks about his family, and then like he talks about how he's just like awkward and stuff like that. But he does it in a way that he's got all these voices, and like I can't do it because they're really nasally and groany. And like he just did a small segment on This Is Not Happening like a couple years ago, where he was talking about how his brother was a safecracker and the FBI came to his house. And I'm not gonna give away the rest of the premise of it because it's fucking hilarious. But
check out This Is Not Happening on
Yeah.
YouTube. The Ari Shafir episodes.
I got into it probably a couple months ago, and
He
I've
got
been like
fucked
fucking
on that show.
watching him ever since.
Or I think he walked away from it.
Yeah.
But
I don't remember what happened.
it was way better. The new guy's all right, but it was better with Ari. Ari Shafir is one of the modern
Yeah.
comedians that I love. He did his most recent double special, Double Negative, where it was half about kids and half about adults.
Yeah.
He has a really cool perspective on things too, but I'm trying to think of more greats. There was
Dave Chappelle's
Sam
one of my
Kinison for a
favorite.
minute.
Sam Kinnison's awesome.
He had like a 2 or 3 year thing where he was probably the best comedian alive. But yeah, Dave Chappelle to me is out of who's alive and going right now.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle is the king.
Like, he literally said in an interview once that he quit doing comedy for like 4 years after the Chappelle show. And I think it was just because he was so tired of fucking around with Mencia, because Mencia was stealing jokes at the time and everything else. And he was just over like the whole glitz and glamour of it and having no privacy, that he was just going to take a hiatus. But he was like, comedy was too easy for me. He's like, I needed to take time off. He's like, writing jokes is too easy. And then I saw his Netflix special, and he like talks about how he can write a joke about anything. He's like, basically,
he just puts punchlines in a bowl with no setup.
Yeah, and he's like,
and so he does the whole show. What you didn't see was the end of the show.
Yeah.
It also finishes with I kicked her in the pussy.
I kicked her in the pussy. Yeah.
Like, so he built his entire special around the ability to drop a punchline, which he gave you in advance.
Yes.
He told you the punchline. I kicked her in the pussy. And then he did one joke with it. And then he finished his very last joke.
Yeah.
And I thought that was genius. But he he talks about things in a way that, like, he says the most asshole-ish
Right.
shit where he like brags about being rich.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way where he's like fucking around.
Yeah.
So it's like, but then again, the thing is, if you hear any interviews of people talking about hanging out with him, he actually is a pretty like he likes partying with like the A-list celebrities and shit like
Joe
that.
Rogan's was talking about how he went to a party with Dave Chappelle, and Dave Chappelle was like really famous at the time. It was like on the tail end of Half Baked when Half Baked was blowing up. It was in the middle of the seasons of the Chappelle show, and they said they went to like a supermodel's birthday party, and it was a big to-do and everything. And he said Dave Chappelle was kind of like, "Oh, I think you're the most famous person here, Joe." And he was just giving Joe shit. And Joe was like, "Seriously, you don't understand how famous you are, do you?" He's like, "Naomi Campbell is like in the living room right now doing modeling poses to impress us all." And he's like, "And you're just sitting over here eating hors d'oeuvres, and you've been smoking weed all day." And Dave Chappelle was like, "What, motherfucker? I'm high." And like that was the extent of how famous Dave Chappelle knew he was in like the middle of the fucking party.
Yeah, well, I think what got him was the politics of everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was at a level where he couldn't really do or say anything without a really intense level of scrutiny. But then on top of that, they gave him all this money and it was his show. Then they started wanting to referee what was going on to the show.
Yeah.
They told Dave Chappelle he couldn't use the N-word.
Yeah.
Which he's probably the best user of it out of everyone because he doesn't do it all the time, but he does it when it's funny.
Eddie Griffin's the one who uses the N-word all the time in his material. And, like, it's every other word out of his mouth. And, like, I don't mind street humor. I don't mind black culture. Y'all have earned that shit. But, like, fucking Eddie Griffin, every time he does a bit and everything, he's just kind of like, N-word this, and then he, like, goes ahead and drops a small punchline, N-word this, and, like, it's just how he addresses the crowd. And he's just kind of like, y'all are a bunch of, and then he just lays it out again. And I'm just kind of like, all right, dude. I get it. And I was just kind of like, but even some other black folks in here and everything who have a decent IQ don't want to fucking relate to this shit. And like, I can kind of see why he rides the fucking midsection of being like C-list and B-list.
He had, I don't remember the name of it, but he did have one really good special. Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence is awesome.
Dude, he gets forgotten a lot.
He does get forgotten a lot. He's overshadowed.
He was amazing there for a minute, and I think he's another one that became a victim of too famous.
Yeah.
Which seems to happen with like there's a zone a lot of stand-ups will tell you get into where you're making somewhere in the mid six figures and you're traveling, and getting booked everywhere, and that's sort of where you want to be. And then there's other people that have handled it better. Like Joe Rogan is a huge celebrity.
Yeah.
Between the UFC, he had a TV show on
Fear
for
Factor
several seasons.
Yeah.
Then he had Fear Factor, and like his body of work.
Yeah.
And now the podcast. He's huge.
Yeah.
But he also seems to be about the most level-headed guy to ever get to that level.
Yeah. Then you have Dane Cook, who made $39 million and got out in the early 2000s.
He had actually a special in 2012, maybe.
I got to check it out. I want to see if his jokes are stolen.
Better.
Yeah.
It was better than the old, like the Vicious Circle.
And then Mind of Mencia.
That came out right after we got out of high school.
Yeah.
No, this stuff was better.
Then you had Mind of Mencia at that time too, and like fucking.
Dude, I loved Carlos Mencia too.
He's not even a Mexican. His real name is Ned, and he steals jokes. Oh, it's so
like
bad.
Half Honduran and half white.
Yeah, dude.
But
like partial Hawaii.
I still have the box sets of that show.
Yeah.
And like I don't ever watch them, but I have them, and which means I'm not gonna have them much longer. But I'm getting rid of some shit. But anyway, he was one of my favorites for a while, and then the thing happened where Rogan confronted him on stage at the Comedy Store.
He got a 7-year ban for confronting him at the Comedy Store.
Well, yeah, it was as much self-imposed as
I'm
not.
sure it was. He even bought the sound system for that place, if I recall.
Yeah, and so he didn't go back there for a long time, and neither did I don't think Joey Diaz was going there for a long time, and a bunch of really good comedians stopped going there because they allowed a known joke thief to keep going on stage and steal time from the up and comers.
Yeah.
It's if you're a main level like a top level comedian, you're touring and you're selling out anywhere from good clubs up to theaters. If you have bumping privileges at most clubs.
Yeah.
But if you abuse that, and you aren't kind to the people you're bumping, then that's how you get the Carlos Mencia
Oh yeah.
stain, because he was taking their material, putting it through his Carlos Mencia machine, because he knows exactly how Carlos Mencia would say whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing I've listened to him talk about doing comedy, and like, he's brilliant. He
Yeah.
didn't have to do it, and he fucked it up. Like, he still tours, he still sells out, but he's not doing any specials.
No, I wouldn't imagine.
And he's not
Like Robin
level
Williams.
he was.
Robin Williams even stole a joke a time or two, but he cut a check if he stole your joke and then apologized to you about it and call himself out on it.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it was like a conscious like thing to say, hey, I'm going to steal like somebody's material. It was just the simple fact that like he would be a big fan of like improvising and going off the cuff and having no script whatsoever
And
on
something
stage.
that was in his brain.
Yeah, and it
would
just
come
pop out and he'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, well, that's somebody else's joke. Well,
But
here's
then,
a check.
yeah,
My bad.
He was always pretty. I think he always came off to be like a pretty humble guy.
Yeah.
He's Robin Williams, I would say, is my favorite comedic actor
You think so?
of all
Okay.
time, and one of my favorite stand-ups.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like his stand-up. It's very stream of consciousness.
Dennis Leary is like one of my favorites.
It's not the I'm an asshole guy.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
But he it's not super punchliney.
Yeah.
It's very like cartoony,
Yeah.
and that I like it. I
Okay,
thought it was
yeah.
a different take.
Dennis Leary did this one movie. It's like one of my all-time favorites. Whenever people ask me if I have a favorite movie, and it's a Christmas-themed movie, which is funny because I hate Christmas. I'll probably not even do Christmas like the way anybody else does it traditionally this year, just because I'm fucking over it. But he did a movie called The Ref back in like the early '90s, and what it was he was like a jewel thief, and he went ahead and busted in on this couple because he was on the run. He got caught stealing these jewels. Dog bit him in the ass. He got covered in dog piss, and he ran into a dysfunctional couple, and he basically hijacks their car and hijacks their house and tries to hide out from the cops. And it's like how he deals like Dennis Leary style with their fucked up family dynamic of how they've cheated on each other. This couple has, and how they have the whole family coming over for Christmas, and he deals with the family dysfunction. And it's probably one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And like, I'll rarely ever plug a movie, but if you're ever gonna watch something, watch The Ref with Dennis Leary. You'll fucking love it.
Right on. I know there's others that are definitely up there, but
Yeah.
they're not all coming to mind at the same time. I actually
Someone threw out Eddie Izzard. Eddie Izzard's a fucking gangster.
is a boss. Yeah.
Okay, bad props to whoever threw that out on the live broadcast. Eddie Izzard fucking does shit in drag. He did fucking the shows where he was a traveling tramp gypsy. That what the fuck was that called? I can't remember the.
Sheila. What's up, Sheila?
Yeah, dude, I can't remember that show he did, but there's a show he did on FX and that ran on the Man Station and shit like that for a minute. And it was like 3 or 4 seasons where he was in a family of traveling gypsies, and it just showed how all the cons he pulled and everything. And he had some of the most fucking funniest one-liners and the funniest setups and scenarios I'd ever seen on that show. And I wish for the life of me I could recall it, but I'm like half-baked and I'm tired and it's just not on the tip of my tongue right now.
Have you ever seen Bernie Mac?
Bernie Mac was awesome before he had the heart attack.
Man. That one set, his breakout set, I can't remember the name of the show. Was it the one that Martin Lawrence used to host on HBO?
The Riches.
Def
The
Comedy
Riches.
Jam.
She got it. Yeah, The Riches. Thank you for throwing that out for me, actually.
I think it was Def Comedy Jam, but Bernie Mac comes out. He's at the Apollo.
Yeah.
Renowned. If you suck, you're going to get booed the hell out of that place.
Yeah, they took you
They'll
out with a
hook you.
fucking shepherd
Yeah.
hook. Yeah.
So he comes out and he's, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. And then he starts talking about how I'll whip my dick out and black out the whole room. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. Hit it. And then the DJ play a song for a second. He dance and shuffle and do that and they do the drop and then he'd be like, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. And he'd go into the next joke.
He had the Bernie Mac show too when he took on like his niece and nephew and or whatever because his sister was a crackhead.
Right,
and
which
he
was based off of one of his real life.
Yeah, and he did a Mr. Baseball movie too or something like that. He was hilarious in the Mr. Baseball movie.
I remember him talking about the niece and nephew, and he said it was the younger nephew who was the ringleader, and he would always send the older niece down to do stuff.
Yeah.
But then he would always say that he was sure that the nephew was gay, even though he was like 3 or 4 or something. Anyway, he caught the nephew on the way to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he was like, where are you going? It's bedtime. And he's like, to get some milk and cookies. And he just had this, he kept saying it like that. He was talking about how the kid has to be gay or whatever.
Yeah.
and it was really funny. But yeah, Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer.
Cedric was a good one.
Amazing performer.
I didn't like his secret agent like parody movies or whatever, where he was
No,
like
but his
an
stand-up-
amnesiac janitor turned amnesiac to secret agent or something or other.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand those movies, but like his stand up and stuff was pretty off the chain.
He has a new special out that's really good. He has like one of the major NCAA teams, like pep bands, play him out to the stage and shit.
Yeah.
Like he's just he's a crazy showman.
Yeah.
And Jerry Seinfeld, which is
I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. I'll throw it out there. I might as well just say I like sucking dicks too, if I'm gonna say it, because Seinfeld is socially abrasive, doesn't embrace his fans, and like the dude made fucking $400 million off 10 seasons of Seinfeld, and like he's got a fuck you attitude because he can.
He's also on the spectrum.
He totally
That's
is
part of it too.
Yeah.
But he's obviously he's one of the biggest comics of all time. But Ray Romano was actually really good at stand up.
Yeah.
But Everybody Loves Raymond kind of killed it for him because he's so big now.
Seinfeld has a YouTube. If you're one of our listeners, look this up sometime. You'll thank me for it. It's hilarious. But he's got a Jerry Seinfeld's Most Savage Moments. It's like 12 minutes of him in interviews with people, and it's supposed to be promoting his career and stuff like that. And it's even one of the scenes is where he's opening up for an award show, and he's just kind of like, "Fuck these award shows. These are goddamn ridiculous." He's like, "I don't need to be told I'm awesome," and he's like, "I don't need anybody stroking my ego." He's like, "I sure the fuck don't need a fancy trophy," and like he doesn't use the profanity I'm using. I'm just paraphrasing loosely, but he says goddamn a lot, and he's like, "This is a bunch of piss and everything else," and like he's in front of a whole crowd of people, the most A-list of A-list people, and he's just kind of like, "And by the way, I've already made a huge chunk of money, and I can say this because I've already got one of these trophies, so the hell with it." And like I'm just kind of like, that's some of the most savage shit ever comes from Seinfeld.
Eddie
I wouldn't want to
Murphy.
be him. Yeah, Eddie Murphy's a good one.
Raw and Delirious were great specials.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many great stand-up comics, but I think that the goal would really just be to be able to pay bills and like have a comfortable life.
Hey, I made $2 on a webcam contest once for comedy.
Yeah.
I'm $2 ahead.
Start, man.
That's my career right there.
I got a $20 donation from Sheila for the Matt Signal podcast, which is at least for now kind of abandoned. Not kind of abandoned. I haven't touched it in months.
Let's see, Kevin Hart. Sheila said Kevin Hart on the
He's
Facebook.
the biggest comedian ever.
Kevin Hart sold out like fucking Madison Square Arena. He's got a 7-minute bit on how his kid's a dumbass because he let his kid watch too much Spider-Man, and then his kid got in a fight at summer camp and tried to like basically web shooter like himself out of the fight. If you can see my hands, and he was like, "Oh, I'll get you, kid who's punching me in the face with my fake web shooter." And Kevin Hart was like, "My kid's a dumbass." And like newer Kevin Hart stuff, I don't find as awesome, but the older stuff,
Yeah, that's how it goes.
if you ever watch his Comedy Store stuff, and like when Kevin Hart was just starting out, and he's like fresh faced as fuck, barely got a haircut going on, he's like fucking 19, 21 years old. He does a bit, and it's like it's about showering, and he's like, "Why the fuck would you just stop showering?" He's like, "How do people stink all the time?" He's like, "Who the fuck wakes up and they're just kind of like, you know what I'm gonna do? Be dirty." It's a lifestyle choice. And like the way I present it sucks because I don't have Kevin Hart's delivery. And even when I'm doing my own thing in stand up, Kevin Hart is one of the comedians I studied the most for like gesture baiting with your hands and for basically doing voices and like for offering the perspective of a bit from like, you know, if you have multiple people talking through your jokes or what's supposed to be your joke and you have more than one perspective and more than one person talking, he tilts his head to the left, to the right, does dramatic pauses and everything. Kevin Hart is one of those people who does like the subtle nuances of comedy in a way that I could only aspire to do one day. Like that's a fucking goal of mine is to mimic Kevin Hart when it comes to my movements and stuff. Not rip him off, but like at least learn some shit from him.
That's actually the reason I wrote my jokes the way I did was like I was trying to come up with like chunks, you know, that were a couple minutes long, but then that requires a knowledge of how to not just deliver them. You have to deliver them in your voice, but it also has to sound like it's not rehearsed.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, where do you put the mannerisms? Like, I was staring at my notebook. I should have been gesticulating, you know? I should have been looking at everybody in the crowd.
Yeah.
I should have been watching for the dude to light me. You know, like, I had to look down, man.
Yeah.
And they sensed my fear. And I think that's part of why I did as bad as I did. You know, it was
Yeah, Monday, like last Monday, when it was just a room full of drunk people, I wanted to go totally from memory. And I'm starting to memorize my routines a lot better. Like when I was younger, a kid told me in high school, he was a drama geek and he was in the theater club and all that. He was like, I'm going to be Peter Pan in the school play. And I was just kind of like, okay. I was like, it's probably because you're secretly a homo. And like, I might have had some bisexual thoughts then, but I didn't publish them openly. And I was just kind of like, so you want to wear tights? I was like, boy, aren't you cool? And then I later realized like that kid has to memorize a whole script and dress up in costume and act this out in front of the entire school. What I should have thought to myself was, this kid had testicles big enough to be wrecking balls, and these balls could have demolished fucking buildings along with construction workers wielding sledgehammers.
yeah, dude.
Instead, like, I always thought this kid was dumb. And my later in life epiphany was realizing that, like, this kid is fucking smarter than me. And I just now realized in my early 30s just how stupid I actually am. And, like, this has followed me around for, like, a good 16 years.
Right.
And that's also a bit I'm working on in my stand-up, is to admit the fact that I have a hard time memorizing shit when the pressure's on. And then, like, a 16-year-old kid in Peter Pan fucking tights outdid me in a school auditorium, and I called him gay for it because I'm stupid. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, but you find a better way to tell that story, and it's funny. But
I'm working on the condensing.
I was too verbose on one subject
Yeah.
without enough set up punchlines in it
Yeah.
to keep people's attention. Because that's really what a joke is a soundbite with a surprise end.
That's the surprise end is what does it. Like, I actually looked up the criteria for all this when I first started, like, wanting to do stand-up and stuff like that. And what they said was, like, you know, the punchline at the end is where you're going to get them. Like, it has to be a surprise. It has to, like, coincide with the logic of where you're heading, but it doesn't have to, like, actually, like, you know,
Or-
be sensible. Like, the most outlandish
Or
stuff
it has
usually
to be
works.
an abstract angle
Yeah.
on the same thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be your point of view. It can be like you have to step out of your point of view and examine it from different perspectives. And I hadn't done that yet either.
Yeah, and the best
think about like
the best jokes are like the 5 to 6 lines or something like that, or 4 lines, because you know the audience wherever you're playing, like if you have a place that serves alcohol or something like that, you should realize your audience isn't going to have like a long attention span, and so like your 3 or 4 line jokes, your 5 or 6 line jokes are like your bread and butter jokes that are going to get the most laughs. And like I didn't think about that from time to time, and I was like, but I've got all these really cool stories, and then I was just kind of like, I'm the mother goose of failed comedy.
You will learn to deliver.
Yeah.
And that's part, like, I don't know that a Bloomington, Indiana open mic is the best place to begin as a storyteller.
Right.
Because being a storytelling comedian, that's a whole other level.
Like when Sheila mentioned Kevin Hart.
Joey Diaz, that's Ari Shaffir, Burt Kreischer. Those are the top of the line, you know, storytellers. And to tell us, that's one of the bigger problems I have.
Yeah.
Is I have stories, I don't always know how to tell them.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to learn that too. And but what I'm realizing is that part of that, I mean, the beginning, middle, and end, of course, is important. But what's more important is the laugh.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to tell a 3-minute story, then there better be a lot of laughs.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Like, I'm a person who's published like 4 books, and like for those of you who haven't heard or anything, I'll be having my own .com come around in May, and all my books will be up for $1 if you're ever interested in any of my life experiences.
Too, eventually.
Yeah.
It's just motivation.
But the thing is, like, when I have the ability to captivate an audience, I have a good voice, I have, like, you know, the vocabulary to keep people enthralled for a story, and, like, I have the ability to tell a good story. However, what I don't have the ability to do yet is pick out where people should laugh in that fucking story. And that's the part that matters the most when you're doing comedy, is, like, to tell the story, pick out, time your like, punchlines, and find your laugh moments, and then to keep on with the story and still have it make sense.
But,
and that is so fucking ridiculously
and not
hard.
Try to run over the laugh.
Yeah, I've run over the laugh a lot.
That's the problem, is then they don't hear what you're saying.
Yeah, that totally is.
So you got to let it breathe and let it die down and then go on. And the one thing I am good at is like my pacing.
Yeah.
I realize that. But now I've got to get the content to match the pacing.
Yeah.
And it's going to take time and work, and you know, like I said, I've got a treasure trove of shit that I ought to be able to fucking mine.
I think we both do, yeah.
But it's just figuring out how best to present it, because when I start getting into the story of how and people deny some of these stories, but like, I can remember one time in Lindsay Hayes trailer park, my mom and dad got in a fight. And basically what happened was my dad was dragging her all up and down the road.
Okay.
He was an abusive dude. Eventually, not eventually, I ran in because I saw what was going on.
Yeah.
My grandpa was sitting on the couch, and I asked him for help, but he just sat there.
Yeah.
And then my uncle said something to the degree, and I'm not sure this is an exact quote.
Yeah.
But it was something along the lines of, somehow if she keeps it up, I'll come out there and help him, or something similar to that.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I remember this. I don't remember that quote exactly.
Yeah.
But I remember this event like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
My mom has the same memory, only from her perspective.
Right.
My sister, who was really young at the time,
Yeah.
she remembers the environment like nobody else seems to remember it happening.
Yeah.
And I think there, when I have stories like that they were horrific at the time.
Yeah.
But if you could tell them in the right way, I hear my phone ringing in the distance. But if you can tell them in the right way, then I think there's a lot of funny stuff.
I got one that made my book. Okay. My mother had a thing with migraines, and ergo she had to go to a 30-day stress treatment center to get her migraines reduced, to get put on a medication plan, to learn like acupuncture, means of like recreational therapy and that type of thing, so she wouldn't be so fucking stressed. So while she's gone ahead and she's in this migraine stress center, it's me and my father like fending for ourselves for 30 days, which is just kind of like two dudes masturbating with a pair of oven mitts. And like I'm 7 years old at the time, and like he's fucking still drunk. He's still this middle-aged, old, hateful ass biggity self. And we have this mobile home. It's ramshackle. It looks like something out of fucking To Kill a Mockingbird. It's beat to shit. Boo Radley wouldn't live in it. And we come home. Boo Radley wouldn't even live in it.
Awesome.
So we come home, and my uncle lives next door, and he's got a farm: chickens, ducks, goats, pigs, whatever. And so fucking he's got this dogs he lets run free range. And they always run up to the house. And one of them's a Scottish Terrier. Black dog. If you ever seen a Champion Spark Plug sign, you see this dog. And this dog was in the house. My dad wanted it out of the house, and he tasked me with the task of getting the dog out of the house. Me being the like intuitive, like engineering 7-year-old I am, put a roll of quarters in a sock, and I smack the dog with it. Damn. And I'm like, get out, dog. And like, I'm like, I've got 6-year-old fucking like strength. So I'm not trying to kill the dog.
Right.
I'm barely a threat to the dog. And the dog turns around and bites me on the arm because, well, the motherfucker should have.
Yeah.
You being a sale with a roll of fucking quarters in a sock, you should bite somebody.
Yeah.
And my dad, he's busy getting twisted, and he's getting his drink on and shit and everything else. And I say, Dad, the dog bit me. Well, my dad was a connoisseur of guns. Now, he wasn't a man with a good aim. He was just a man who owned guns. So fucking he grabs a fucking like a 12-gauge shotgun and all this shit, and he runs down to my uncle's house, and he's saying, the dog bit my son and all this, and what the fuck are you going to do about it? My uncle's just as drunk as my dad because they're brothers, and that's just kind of how they go ahead and show their appreciation for one another and their brotherly bonds. And so my dad takes aim, and he's like, well, fuck it, I'm going to shoot the dog. And my uncle's like, I wish you would so this conversation get up on its way. I'm over this shit. And so my dad shoots the wrong fucking dog because he's so lit. Got bad aim in the first place. Man should have never owned a gun. He shoots a fucking beagle.
Oh, boy.
A brown and white spotted beagle instead of a black Scottish Terrier. There's a huge fucking difference.
Yeah.
And he blows the dog away in front of my little cousins, who are like maybe 3 or 4 years difference from my age. So like they're 8 and 12 years old, and they're watching their drunk uncle come over and get vengeance for his son, who caused the whole fucking thing in the first place. And he shoots the wrong fucking dog. And like that's the type of shit in my family that I could tell a story about. Now working that into like a 5 to 6 minute or 5 to 6 like sentence comedy routine, hard, but are there laughable moments in there? Absolutely.
Well, I don't know that I would get that story down to 5 to 6 sentences. It's just a matter of having a joke every 5 or 6 sentences.
Right.
That's the thing.
That's the thing.
And so you're gonna have to go into the details of it, like the colors and the smells and the descriptors and anything. Like you said a couple of guys masturbating with oven mitts.
Yeah,
that's a punchline.
that's
where you stop for a second.
Yeah,
and you give it a second to breathe. Yeah, and you just make sure you're coming down on it so they know that boom, that's a punchline.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were like a couple of guys masturbating with oven mitts.
Yeah, we didn't know how to get shit done. Like that was pretty much it.
And then
yeah.
So anyway, yeah. It's the line, like, that's just a tagline, you know, that's not even really a joke. But
where are we at on this podcast? We're like almost 2
we're
hours?
coming up on 2.
Holy shit.
So we're going to wrap her up here pretty quick.
Yeah, we probably should.
But
take forever to get this on YouTube.
Even, I would say, like, for the discussion we sat and had about jokes,
yeah,
we know more than most people.
I would totally give us that.
However, we still don't know shit.
Oh, total noobs.
That's the thing.
I just talked about earlier training in mixed martial arts for a year and a half, and like, I am a mediocre fighter after a year and a half of constant vigilant training. I'm not saying I'm a good fighter. I'm saying I can I beat the average guy? I don't know. It depends on if he hits me first.
Right.
But like fucking like do I have confidence in myself to put up my fists and defend myself? Absolutely. But that's from training for a year and a half with professionally paid fighters who can make like $1,000 off each fight.
And there you have it.
Yeah.
So basically, anything worth having is going to take some work.
Fuck yeah.
I think we're going to get the fuck out of here because we're coming up on 2 hours. And
don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube and the Facebook.
Race to 100.
Race to 100 microphone giveaway.
To ensure that we get you into the drawing. I'm going to pull a list of names, but go ahead and inbox us. Let us know you did it. That's a cool thing to do. It just helps make sure we don't miss you. I think that about sums it up. So
we'll see you next week with hopefully a new guest.
Also, just let me know anybody who's interested in losing weight together. And let's get the hell out of here.
All right, then.
Peace.
I got to piss.
This life spreads like cancer as nothing is real. Leave me here by the bus stop with my pencil made steel. So it's time, it's just time. Well, I'm not much for the classroom teacher, teach me if you care. I can't pay much attention when that ruler in your hand. So it's time, 'cause I'm thinking here we are. Break me down. It's just time. So yeah. I'm not much for the school. Your teacher, catch me if you can. By the swing, except with my pencil broken hand. Oh, it's fine. Shattered shards of graphite as they're flying through the air. Galloping eyes quite slowly with the splinters in my hair. So it's fine. 'Cause I'm thinking here we are. Break me down. It's just time. It's just time. Oh my, oh my. It's just time. Oh my.
In this world, no one leaves alone. The only way you leave is in death, and in death, my friends, you leave with one thing. That one thing is pride. And pride will have to change the time between the sky that you love to the ground that you hate. Right between everything that once was. Your pride can never die.
Here we are. Break me down. Here we are. Don't see problems here. Problems here.